I actually popped into Destiny's stream yesterday while I was doing some like video editing work and stuff, and I saw him watching it, and I just saw some really absurd stuff going on. So I was like, I kind of want to watch it. So let's get this going. I'm gonna restart it.
All right, what up, guys? We are live. So we got part two of our debate with Vaush. So yeah, man, it's good to chat with you again. I think the big disappointment with our first debate was that it was too civil.
I popped into the thing. I popped in, and then I was like, "Hey, what video is Destiny watching?" And then Tipster was there, and he said, "Oh, hi, Papa God." And I said, "Guys, there's too many fat people here," so I left. But not after. But wait, only after I got what the video was.
We just wound up agreeing on too much shit.
So.
But fortunately, I think we're gonna heavily disagree on this. I don't know. We'll have to flesh out like kind of your position, but I think we're gonna have a lot of disagreement on this. But yeah, thanks for coming on, Vaush.
Yeah, the pleasure's mine. Yeah, I'm sure we'll find a couple things we disagree with.
I think on the Andrew Tate issue, we definitely disagree. I'll start off with one thing that we disagree on, that we actually agree on. I was watching your video where it was called the case for why Andrew Tate should be banned. Actually, first off, let me ask this question out, professional courtesy. Is there any words I can't say?
For me, I don't think Tate should have been banned. I've said this before. I don't think that he was like advocating for anything like horrible or illegal. I disagree with his positions. I think that they are sexist, but I also don't think that sexism or any type of bigotry should be like an instant removal. I know that's a hot take. I don't think it's good. I think we should call it out. But I think once it gets to like harmful or like I guess aggressive rhetoric, I guess you'd say, like physical or call to violence is what I'm trying to say. That's where it becomes a problem. But now that he's banned, I'm not like exactly like crying about it. You know what I mean? Like it is what it is. I don't really care that much. I just wouldn't have banned him in the first place.
Say on your stream because you're streaming right now. Is there any words you want me to avoid?
You should be fine. I mean, I'd avoid the hard R just as a matter of courtesy, but outside that should be fine.
Okay, so I just say like R thing, right? Like something like that, refer to it that way.
So I think he meant the N-word.
Oh yeah, like the N-word hard R.
I don't know why he would say the N-word hard R, but okay.
Oh, that okay. Yeah.
Oh no, you can say retard if you want.
Well, I don't like that word. I don't know, but okay. I don't really understand like a lot of these like lefties who are so open to that word. I don't really get it. Because like I understand the edgy the edgy people using the R slur. Like I kind of get it. It's like it's not a slur that we've really had a conversation about, or people don't care. The reality is people don't care. People don't care about that word because like people with intellectual disabilities aren't really platformed too heavily. I think that Vaush has autism, but like not for nothing. It's usually people who aren't negatively impacted by the word that don't care about it. Like if you ask anybody with like Down syndrome or like a lower functioning, for lack of a better term, or higher support needed, like autism, they hate the word. Like I know this, my wife works with adults with intellectual disabilities, but they still use it. Like I don't get it. It's just like kind of like I really don't get I just don't get it. I don't understand how like you pretend to fucking care about like marginalized issues and then you just like go around using that word. It just seems kind of fucking stupid and whatever.
Okay, I was talking about RAP.
Oh no, you're good. Don't worry.
Okay, cool. I'm just making sure because I saw one of your videos you bleeped it out, so I wasn't sure what your policy.
Oh, that's just for the videos themselves. The streams always get demonetized anyway.
All right, cool. So yeah, I'll start off on the one thing that we agree on when it comes to the Andrew Tate thing, and that is I agree with you when you said the big reason why he got deplatformed is he got too popular too fast. That was my thought.
I think it was fresh said it best, where the reason he got banned is because he went on Twitch and all of a sudden like a lot of young kids were involved and people took that like really personally. Like that was actually a good point. If Andrew Tate stayed away from Twitch, which is a very heavily like child-centered app, then honestly I think that he wouldn't have been banned. But I get it. Like he went on there and then he was exposed and like a lot of young people, like kids started going into school making fun of fucking girls and shit, and you kind of just you flew too close to the sun.
Initially as well, I think when you get so popular so fast, it's a double-edged sword. Once you get the popularity, but two, you're under a lot more scrutiny. So I think on that point, you and I very much agree.
Yeah, well, I mean, moderation on social media platforms is never going to be perfectly consistent. It's always going to be moderated through the attention economy and what gets focused on the most at any given point in time. So it makes sense that with his meteoric rise, he would attract all that attention so quickly, and that would cause the problems.
Yeah. Now here's where the disagreement starts. So you said, and this is a direct quote, I think Andrew Tate being deplatformed is good, right? Another thing, well, actually, we'll just stick on that for a second and move on to the next thing. So what is your case for why is it good?
Well, I think it's at least on my end of the aisle, it's pretty self-evident that Tate's like a monstrously bad human being on almost every level.
I don't think he's monstrously bad. I just think he's like very bad for young men to listen to, like from a rhetorical sense. Like, but I don't think he's monstrously bad.
Like on a professional and ethical level, like the information he distributes, the way he distributes it, everything about him just seems to be sort of maximized for worsening the world that we live in. Yeah, and given that, I think that it's perfectly okay to sort of cultivate what gets the the attention, the broader social media sphere. We've always had processes for that, as far back as human civilization goes. If you're disliked enough, if you're causing enough trouble, eventually you will be taken off the soapbox. And I think that's.
I feel like that's kind of like rough though, because then like, what happens if like your ideology is disliked? You know what I mean? Like, what happens if the other side controls the narrative, and then all of a sudden, like, because that's really what it comes down to. Like a lot of it, like left leaning. Spaces tend to be more left-leaning, which makes sense. Ooh, I whistled a little bit. But, like, what happens if they became more right-leaning and then fundamentally they were like, yeah, we don't really like this leftist speech, we don't really like you talking about A, B, C, D, X, Y, Z. Like, I just feel like it's a slippery slope a little bit. In some instances, it can be. If the other side of the aisle controlled the narrative, like, you know what I mean? That's what the whole point of, like, freedom of speech is supposed to be, outside of, like, advocating for harm being done. Like, calls to violence, because like what happens if the other side of the aisle controls the narrative?
It's okay. By the way, I'm getting a bit of feedback from your mic when you're not talking. Let me see. Is there a StreamYard setting for?
I think I could probably fix that. Yeah, hang on a second. Let me see. Tell me if this solves the issue.
Gotcha.
Is it better now?
That totally fixed it.
All right, cool. All right, keep going.
Oh no, that's it really. Just I'm okay with the cultivation of presented content through terms of service.
Okay, well let's explore that. Why is he a demonstrably horrible human being?
Well, it seems like all the stuff that he promoted was mostly about like contempt for women, that they're like lesser creatures that need to be controlled by men.
That's most of the memes that like hit front and center, was like the memes about how he's a bad guy, or memes about how women are like less than. Which is funny because I remember watching his video and he's like, people are taking me out of context. Like they're putting out these clips about how like, I don't like, and they're all the ones about like women and this. And it's like, yeah, but those are your own fans doing that because they think that that's super fucking based. Like, right. So like, your fans are the ones that are like eating it up. They're eating up all the bullshit over and over again. But that is pretty much front and center of what's going on.
He had an incredibly callous attitude towards consent, putting that pretty lightly there. Like him saying that they have a lesser, sort of more moderate attitudes, maybe towards sexual assault in Romania. Out here they're less cucked, less feminist.
I think what he was talking about how he didn't like the Me Too movement. I thought it was a little bit of a red flag, but frankly, I don't think he was saying that he wants to go somewhere where rape is allowed. I think he was trying to say that he doesn't like the Me Too movement because like there are instances where you can claim sexual assault and then like people will just be like, okay, that happened, and then like it could ruin somebody's life. So I understand what he was saying
with their definitions and some kinds of stuff like that. His main lesson plan just mostly seemed to be about making young men like worse versions of themselves, which is pretty socially destructive. Young men are pretty impressionable and insecure. They're pretty easy to manipulate.
You really feel like most?
He said we're easy to manipulate. Are you a young man, Vaush? Like what the fuck? What the hell was that?
So his content was about putting women down and being shitty to women?
No, I think there was a lot of other stuff, like sort of projecting his insecurities, flashing his wealth, promoting his pyramid scheme, lying to people about.
I wouldn't call it a pyramid scheme. Like there is a point where I did call it one, but like I think that's like not like an honest, accurate representation. It's a lazy self-help thing. And like there are areas in it where like it is almost like a pyramid scheme. I don't know if it's called pyramid. It sells you the idea that you will be successful if you pay however much money for his bullshit program. It gives you some like really, really basic advice on how to, make money and whatnot. But then it tells you that if you fail, that it's your fault and you didn't subscribe long enough and you're a loser and blah, 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 blah. It doesn't really do anything, but I wouldn't call it a pyramid scheme because it offers something, even if that something is absolute like dog shit.
The effectiveness of dropshipping and crypto investment. I think he did he holistically, like he did a lot, but I do think like the sort of predominant drive of his content was mostly about like fearing, hating, and trying to control women. That was kind of like the main driver, I think.
Okay, I'm glad we fundamentally disagree. I think the main driver, and again, I want to clarify, I'm not some big Andrew Tate fanboy. There are things before even he got deplatformed that I publicly disagree with him on, so I don't agree with all his positions. But as far as I saw, and I think as far as a lot of people saw it, the main driver of the main message he was pushing is how can men be better men. Now, some of the ways
I hear red pill people say that. I just don't think that anybody can like reasonably make that argument that like that was the main driver of his content. He might have thought that he was pushing for men to be better men in his sphere, but a lot of it was just like him being incredibly provocative for attention. Like, I mean, I feel like we just want to gaslight ourselves and pretend that doesn't exist. Like, maybe if you get deep down into it, you can maybe make that argument. But either way, telling people to focus almost exclusively on making as much money as possible isn't exactly a good message. And like I watched a lot of his stuff. I watched his date with that girl. Was it Cheyenne? And like it wasn't really about making men better. Like it's really just about him being kind of a dick and just making as much money as possible, and how women are like secondary to men. I don't really. I feel like that's a red pill cope. And I feel like a lot of people within proximity of Red Pill can't like outwardly say that like he was toxic, because even if people don't like him in the Red Pill community, they still like they you know, it's like, which in such proximity they have to be like, well, Red Pill can be good. I don't think so, bro. I think the majority of Red Pill is like garbage, and it's just not good. I've never really seen any good advice come out of there. It's mostly just sexist shit.
In which he advocated men becoming better men. I disagree with him on, right? We can disagree on the two, but that was the main thing he was pushing. Now, in terms of women, his position was that women are precious creatures that should be protected, sometimes from themselves. Meaning, like, if he's
that's just very patronizing and condescending. Everybody, like, that's like telling like fundamentally that women need to be protected from themselves. It's just incredibly condescending. Come on.
he's in a relationship with a girl, he's going to do his best to protect her. Now, personally,
Sure,
that's not an attitude.
That's okay. I do the best I can to protect my wife too, and she does the best to like protect me in different ways as well, I suppose. But that doesn't mean that like I protect her from herself. Like, she's not a fucking idiot that can't make her own decisions. We just happen to make decisions together. It's just weird.
With my girlfriend, but I don't see that as being hateful towards women. I just see that maybe being a little outdated, you could say. But I don't see any hate in that.
Patronizing.
Well, this is always the attitude that the bigot takes, you know? Slave owners often argue that they were engaging in a kind of paternalistic protection of the slaves, that the slaves, the black African slaves, were naturally stupid and childish. So
why did you need to go there? I don't understand that. This is what I came in on when I was watching Destiny, and then after I heard this part, I'm like, I have to watch this because this is fucking insane. I barely got into it, but it's like, dude, why would you go directly to slaves? You didn't have to go anywhere. You didn't have to go anywhere near that.
The selfless white slave owners would provide stuff like food and housing, that it wasn't hate that motivated their interracial relations, but rather a kind of, you know, like, we all do what we can, and, you know, we fit within the slots God gave us. And misogynists tend to be like that too. This, like, you know, I love women, I want to protect women stuff. It's total bullshit. If you're a straight guy, then you loving women should be like a default. It's like a default presumption that kind of comes with the territory. People who talk about how much they love women, like over and over in between lines on how you have to control your woman to make sure she doesn't cheat on you, and like sort of glib comments on like your propensity towards abuse or your attitudes towards consent. It's really like a defense you're playing. You're like directing attention away. It's like, well, I don't, you know, my attitude toward, I don't, you know, hate women. I love women. You know, they're just like kind of stupid. And, you know, they need to be like led around, you know, stuff like that. You hear it a lot from his community.
Yeah, we got to unpack a lot of those things you said. So first of all,
lot,
I think we can agree there's a lot of men who don't love women. There's a lot of men who hate women on the internet.
Yeah, I think that I think I understand what Vaush is trying to say. He's trying to say that some people will say I love women as a way to kind of I guess you'd say distract from, or as a way to just roll over being sexist. I get that. But okay. I just feel okay. There's just a lot of information.
Would you disagree with that?
No, for sure. But like, what do you mean?
Love women. There's a lot of men who hate women on the internet. Would you disagree with that?
No, for sure. But like, what do you mean when you say love? Would you agree that somebody can love women? Okay, like, I think Epstein loved women. I think he loved women in a lot of ways. I don't think he treated women well, you know?
Yeah, I just don't think that these super exaggerated perspectives are going to really help your argument here.
I don't know what it means to like love a woman in the way that a lot of these guys seem to.
The way Andrew Tate probably loves a woman, it's a bit regressive, but it's this idea that he wants to have a woman who will do anything that he says, and then he will protect her unconditionally. Well, not unconditionally, but he will protect her. He will protect her like aggressively. So he loves that. I think that that's fine if you want to have that type of dynamic, because some women like that. I personally don't like the way that he advocates for it. I don't like how it's sexist it becomes. I don't like how he has these massive double standards where he can go on vacation with his friends, but his girlfriend can't go on vacation with like her friends. Or how like it's okay for a man to cheat, but it's not okay for a woman to cheat. Or if she has like an OnlyFans income, he gets like 80% of it. Where that the opposite wouldn't be the same. It's really bizarre, dated perspective. I don't think that Andrew Tate hates women. He's probably not a terrible partner to be with. I just think he's incredibly regressive and very shallow. He wants younger girls. He's not really interested in girls his age, which is incredibly immature, and that should be a red flag for you if an older guy like is into that kind of shit. Like, there's something going on where they're not particularly mature. Like, that's a red flag as well. The advocation for that is a problem, you know. So,
well, are you asking me how I personally love women, or how?
No,
I think
I'm sure you have a normative attitude towards it. You know, I'm fine with that. I'm just saying, like, what does it mean when you say you love women? Like, what are you signaling, right? Because like,
think about it like this. I think this was his attitude towards women. And again, I agree it's outdated, right? But I don't think it's a misogynistic one. The way he saw it was like, women are like you know, like your favorite pet. Like, you love.
Boom, right there. Your argument's garbage. I don't think it's outdated. It's not misogynistic. Women are like dogs. Brother, you can't make the statement that it's not misogynistic But I think but he thinks women are like dogs. If you think that women are like an animal, it instantly becomes misogynistic. It becomes sexist. You are now saying that women are on the same fucking level as an actual dog. Like, that's sexist. Dogs are less than human beings. That is what they are in our society. You might love dogs, but you treat them as less than, where they have like very little control. Your favorite pet? Come on, brother. That's just fucking out of pocket. You can't be saying that shit.
Love your pet, but you sometimes protect your pet from itself. You keep it from maybe eating bad shit on the ground. Like, I love my dog, but my dog, he's not the smartest thing, right? He sometimes eats shit off the ground. It's bad for his stomach. Now, again, I think, I feel
like men are more likely to eat shit off the ground than women. I'm just being honest with you. I fucking, like, I'll drop food on the floor. My wife's like, don't eat that. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just saying, but yeah. Like, what the hell are you talking about, dude?
I don't think you actually need to do that in a relationship, right? Like, I don't think you actually need to protect the girl from herself. I think that's a major headache. But that in of itself, you can say is silly. You can say that's outdated. But I don't think you can say that's a hateful attitude towards women.
You don't have to be hateful to be sexist. That's a condescending attitude towards women. Like, come on, you compared women to a pet. You're like, yeah, it's not sexist. Like, come on, bro. You can't be serious.
Well, it's literally thinking they're subhuman and that you have like a right to guide and dictate to them how to live. Which is, again, like very comparable to where the slave owners.
Bro, why do slaves need to be, why do black people need to be involved in this situation? I don't understand. Like, I understand using extreme examples, but this motherfucker just compared women to dogs. Why do you have to go to fucking slavery? Why do you have to keep talking about slaves? Just engage with the, like, yeah, if you think that it's like a dog, that's sexist.
Slaves, right? Like, we don't hate the Africans. It's like, well, they need leading, they need guidance. Like, that was like a big line in terms of like justifying slave ownership, because it made it seem like actually they're, out of the goodness of our heart, we employ them and we give them food and bread and shelter.
Vaush, but that is a false analogy, because there's no choice, there's no consent. So slaves were forced into their position, right? They didn't choose to be slaves; they were forced to be slaves. All the women that Andrew Tate dates chose to date him.
That's true. I think one of the problems I have is, like, that is true. Like, if you wanted to be in a relationship like that, there's nothing wrong with that. Like, if you want, even as a woman, if you want to be in like that more regressive relationship, like, you can still benefit from it if you're doing it consensually. I think the problem is that when you, as a society, if we set this type of dynamic up, which is the general advocation for it, where men are the ones with like the power dynamic, it tends to disfavor women and put women into a situation where they can be abused more easily, right? Like, that's the problem with like a power dynamic that favors one person, is that there can be potential abuse in that scenario, and that's societally why we've taken a shift away from that ideology. And if you want to do it consensually, be my guest, but
that's the big difference there.
Hopefully all the women who had sex with them too.
The big difference there. Choose to be slaves. They were forced to be slaves. All the women that Andrew Tate dates chose to date him. That's the big difference there.
Okay.
Hopefully all the women who had sex with them too. The comparison that I'm drawing is that it's possible to hate a group of people, and that hate is expressed through this like paternalistic, I'm more of a human than you, so like I get to make the decisions. Like, the comparison between women and dogs is really common in like the Tate sphere of like the pickup artist, men's rights, whatever, and there's really no way to believe that without hating women. If you literally think a group of people is subhuman, you can't really get around that, right?
You don't have to hate them to be sexist, but you have to think, but they think less of them as people. You don't really have to go with the hateful argument.
Like, comparisons to dogs are historically tied, like, literally to acts of genocide.
Incredible.
When it comes to like the language you use to demean a group or to put them in a different like category.
Really let me approach it like this. Let me give you another analogy. Think about, like, okay, I'll just draw from my own childhood. My dad was very overprotective, right? My dad clearly loved me, right? But he didn't really let me make up my own mind when I was growing up.
Okay, but you're a kid. You're a child. Like, again, treating somebody like a dog or like a child will be slightly better because children are human, but like, it's still in a situation where like you're too dumb to like, you're not able to take care of your own shit. Like, it's still not working for you. Treating women like children or treating women like dogs or pets is sexist both ways, even if you love your pet. And listen, my mother loves her dogs. She takes care of them. She fucking spends a ton of money on them, get them this. I understand that you can love your dog. It's still condescending though, fundamentally.
Growing up, so I was like, Dad, I don't want to do karate anymore. I want to play soccer. Oh, that's a big mistake.
Yeah.
I want you to keep doing karate. Right? He was overprotective. Well, that's because he thought that I needed to defend myself. And there's elements of truth to that, right? Being able to defend yourself is good. But again, he wasn't like, how you wouldn't say that my dad hated me just because he was being overprotective of me, would you?
Well, no, because you were literally a child. But if you thought that a group of adults were like children, a group that's so disadvantaged that we put them in a different legal and social category, I would also consider that to be a kind of hatred. Yeah, because you're again basically saying they're subhuman. Like, they're adults, but mentally they're basically children. Like, that's also what they said about the slaves. They actually said that the idea that blacks had naturally childlike minds was actually like
we going
one of the
in this direction?
overriding like scientific racist like sort of stereotypes that were used throughout the slave period.
But then you would have to bite the bullet and say that liberals actually hate black people, because as you've seen a lot of black content creators like Abba and Jay, whatever, forget his name, say that like there's a lot of like liberal racism where basically it's not like blatant racism, right? It's just this condescending, like, listen, black people don't really know how to decide what's best for themselves, so you kind of have to help and guide them, right? So if we're going to say, and I don't think that's coming from a bad place, I think that's just white people generally trying to maybe help black people, right? But then you would have to bite the bullet and say all those liberals actually hate black people.
I think his argument is too much fundamental. I don't think that advocating for like rights for like marginalized groups is what like Abba and them call liberal racism. It's more of the argument where it becomes like condescending. Like when it comes to, he meant Gideon, that makes sense. Like let me give like the example of when Hassan watched Gideon's video on like one of the most racist town, almost immediately set us up to go. He's like, oh, I hope he doesn't whitewash this. Then after Gideon says, I wanted to make this video because I'm a content creator, but also because I'm black and I basically care about these topics, Hassan goes, you don't really care about these topics. That would be like some kind of like dismissal and like liberal racism and like and because it's being condescending, right? And it's just trying to like basically set this idea up like, if you disagree with the general social narrative, then you're not the right type of black person. That's what that rings to me. That would be liberal racism. I don't think that all advocation for marginalized groups is liberal racism. I mean, I feel like that was a little too like of a fundamental, I guess you'd say, claim there, without really having too much of a strong back on it. But
because they're childizing them, infantizing them, not letting them make up their own mind.
If there was a liberal who said, I think black people are like dogs or children, I would agree that that is racist of them. In the same way that when Tate did it with...
Hey, all black people are my dogs. What's up, dog? Boom. How about that? And white people, too. Hispanic people. Asian people, all my dogs. Not Italian people, though. Not Italian people. Kidding. Sorry. I had an old Italian woman come in here yesterday and say that she liked me, so now I have to like Italian people. Just let you know.
Women, I think it's sexist of him and indicates a hatred for that group. I don't think liberals generally say that, though.
But
there are some who do.
Well, it's more of those things where, like, you know, people are really good at being racist nowadays. So, like, on both sides, they know how to be racist without being, like, racist. You know what I mean? They know how to, like, make some, like, arguments and some claims. I think progressives are better at hiding their racism. They know what they do and don't need to say. You know what I'm saying? I once called that intelligent racism. And people were like, oh, you think racism is intelligent? I'm like, no, bro, you know what I'm saying, okay? I'm a fucking 32-year-old dumb fuck boomer. Like, I can't always perfectly communicate myself. Give me a break. You know what I mean? You guys are unhinged. Sorry, a little venting there.
But if liberals are trying to protect black people from themselves and helping them make better decisions for their communities, right, just basically kind of infantizing them and saying that, you know what, we can decide these things a little bit better for you. You wouldn't say that's racism, or would you?
Well, the majority of black people are themselves liberals. So
I don't think that's true. I think most black people are like moderate conservative. I don't know what you're talking about. It depends on what it is. If you're telling, I mean, it depends on the context of what we're talking about.
It just seems like a liberals of all races having opinions politically that differ from some black conservatives. I don't think that liberals generally are that paternalistic when it comes to like the political opinions of black people. If a black person has like a bad political opinion, I think you can just like disagree with it. And that's mostly what I see happening. But a lot of black conservatives are like massive crybabies. So like if you criticize them for having a shit take, they'll be like, well, I get to say this because I'm black. And if you point out that's not really an argument, they're like, well, you're telling me, a black person, how to manage my business. Like, what, you must think that I'm stupid. You're the racist, you know? And it's like this infinite cycle that goes nowhere. But Tate has directly invoked, like, women are children, like women are dogs, whatever. Like, they're lesser, you know? If a liberal did that with black people, I think everyone would agree that it's racist. So we have to agree that it's sexist when Tate does with women.
I think we can agree on disagree on the liberal racism thing. I'll pose the question like this. Do you think it's fair for a man to dictate the terms of his own relationship?
Of course, everyone has a right to. But
yeah, men and women can dictate the terms of their own relationships. And if a woman wants to be in a relationship where a man is like, you know, has a domineering perspective, that's perfectly fine.
Terms that you have can obviously say a lot about you ethically, right?
Sure, yeah, right. But it is your, like, so for example, I don't have a right to tell you how to have a relationship with your girlfriend. Meaning, if I think like you're doing something fucked up, it's not my place to come in and say, Vaush, you shouldn't be doing that with your girlfriend.
No, I think it can be. It depends on what you're doing. Like, if you're screaming at her and belittling her, like, yeah, I can make a comment and be like, hey, I think that's abusive or something.
I think you have a right to. Like, if I abuse my girlfriend.
No, we're assuming nothing illegal is taking place. Meaning, assuming, like, I don't know, like, let's just say you're in a relationship where once a month you get to go out and fuck another girl, but she doesn't get to fuck anyone else. And I think that's not fair, right?
Yeah, that's perfectly fine. The problem isn't that Andrew Tate's like, I want to be able to go out and fuck other girls. The problem is fundamentally from the red pill community is that men should be able to do it and women should not be able to do it because men are like biologically superior in some capacity. And then people have the right to call that out. Like, that's bad rhetoric. Like, men don't have the right to cheat on their girlfriends. Men shouldn't be going out cheating. That's it. Now, if you wanted to have like a nuanced discussion about how like, you know, men tend to cheat more physically and women tend to cheat a little more emotionally, or at least when women have sex, it tends to be a little more emotionally connected, where men don't need to do that, I can concede to that for sure. But that doesn't make the cheating correct. And they'll use like some of these like factual information, like again, like where like men tend to be a little more physical in their cheating and women tend to need more of a connection. They'll be like, well, that's why it's okay for men to cheat. That doesn't make it okay for men to cheat. Because if a woman could have like a disconnected emotional sex, would you say it's okay for her to cheat? Because some women can, and you'd be like, no. So it's more of like a power thing. And like you know, and there's a difference between cheating and setting the standard of I want to be in an open relationship, and we always conflate these two for some reason when we talk about this. But like it's always like, yeah, it's okay for a man to cheat. Hey, well, what if I had a consensual agreement with my partner about how I can sleep with somebody else once a month and they can't? That's not cheating. Like, I don't understand why you keep using the same word cheating over and over and over again. Men should be held to a higher standard. Men aren't fucking dumb dogs that can't like, you know, control themselves. Men should be held to a higher standard than that. They should be held to a standard where they shouldn't be cheating. Yeah.
It's not my place to come in and say that.
Well, it doesn't have to be illegal, right? Like, you can abuse a partner and gaslight them and like treat them like shit, without like tripping the law. I think you would have a right to criticize me for that. I think that I have a right to like make decisions, but I think that those decisions are open to criticism. Like, legally, I have every right to not allow black people into my house. I can even say that openly.
Why do you keep talking about fucking black people, dude? This is the liberal racism. Like, you don't need to constantly talk about fucking. This guy's talking about men and women, and he literally compared women to like fucking pets. And instead of just being like, yeah, that's shitty, you're like, well, what about black people, dude? Chill out. What the fuck's? Why? Why do you need to constantly bring it to black people over and over again? What's the obsession? I don't really understand it.
Say that to a cop, they can't do shit about it. But I still think that would like warrant criticism, right? Like, you could say, even though it's your right to decide who goes into your house, I think you're racist for not allowing black people in.
I wouldn't.
Okay, yeah, you're right about that, but it's not. The better word is, it's not my place to tell you how to run your relationships, right? That is your decision, not mine.
I'm fine with it. If you have an ethical.
Well, the problem is that Andrew Tate's trying to tell people how they should run their relationships when he advocates for like these things publicly. So like you when you try to say like, well, you shouldn't really be able to criticize Andrew Tate for the way he runs his relationship. Well, he's always talking about it. That's what he's doing to everyone else. He's telling people this is how you should act.
Qualm with something that's part of another person's relationship, I think that's totally fine. I think that like historically, there are plenty of legal things that are kind of like the norm in relationships that are really, really bad. Marital rape wasn't even illegal until a couple decades ago.
Well, that's illegal. What do you mean? What are some of the really bad things in relationships?
You could just rape your wife whenever you wanted with no legal consequences. But I still think you can make the moral criticism, like back in like 1970 or whatever.
Okay. Okay. Let's approach it like this, because I think we're maybe a little bit of a standstill. Tate has a different way of viewing relationships. He views relationships. We agree the fact that he views women as these basically creatures that need to be protected from themselves.
As right? Less than, yes, which is
what is
sexist.
The hate in that? Like,
it doesn't need to be hateful.
Where does the hatred part lie?
It doesn't need to be hateful. It's still condescending.
I guess it really depends on like hatred, like the definition that you're using. So when I say hatred, like you're literally like treating women like they're subhuman. For me, that's definitionally like a kind of hatred. I
mean, I just would kind of disagree with that.
That usually men do this because they're incredibly insecure. They're not really afraid of women like hurting themselves. They're afraid of women's agency. So they'll say like, hey, this is for your own good. And then they'll say like, don't talk to other guys or whatever, because like you should only be interested in me. And it's motivated by insecurity. Yeah.
So hatred is like an intense dislike or ill will. I wouldn't call it hatred. The insecurity part I can get on board with.
So I think like the hatred really is of like the stereotype of the pernicious or like untrustworthy woman, and they're like terrified of it. And a lot of the control and political biases that come out of that are an attempt to try to assuage those insecurities.
Okay. I think we just need to start off by defining hatred, I guess.
True. Yeah.
Okay. So how do you define hatred?
When I say
hatred, I mean like sort of.
He doesn't even need it to be hatred to like win this argument, and he keeps. I don't know why he's so insistent on like using words wrong.
Contemptuous disregard or like depersonalization, but if you want, I can go with like dehumanization. Like the term itself, I think, is replaceable with a few others in terms of like what I would criticize Tate's content for. Like if I would accuse like a paternalistic slave owner, like I don't know, Thomas Jefferson or whatever, of hating black people, but maybe it'd be easier to say like he thought them were subhuman, he dehumanized them.
Okay, so for you, hatred is interchangeable with dehumanization, basically.
Well, they tend to overlap, yeah. I mean, it's really, really difficult to justify dehumanizing a class of people without there being some kind of like deeply rooted emotional like contempt towards them in some form or another. And it's not like Andrew Tate never indicated contempt towards women. That was a pretty frequent feature of his content as well. You know, what women do, you know, when they do something wrong, like how do you punish them? How do you maintain like authority over them? A lot.
I don't specifically remember those. Does he give examples of that?
A lot of it came across like pretty contemptuous.
So we partially agree on the fact. I agree with you that there's elements of insecurity
I'm not saying he's
in
wrong.
the way
I just,
Andrew Tate handles
yeah.
relationships. Insecurity, though, is not always the same thing as hatred.
True.
You'd have to give me specific examples then of like some hateful things that he has said in reference to women, or in his. Show me an example, like a specific example of contempt that he has for women.
I mean, I think he said that if a woman accused him of cheating, he would like slap them or like hold them down or something. I think he's
No, he didn't say that. Okay, I know what he's referencing. He's referencing a clip with Andrew Tate where he's talking about, okay, how he keeps a weapon at the side of his bed. And I'm pretty sure this was what it was. And he said, somebody was like, what if you were caught cheating and the girl tries to use the weapon on you? And he says, he's like, I'll beat the shit out of that bitch or something. So it was specifically in reference to them trying to attack him with like a machete. It was a machete that he leaves around his house. And that's what it is. So he wasn't saying he was going to beat women. He was saying that if a woman came at him with his machete because he cheated on her, and it was a machete that he left at his bedside, that he doesn't need to be worried because women, they're not very good fighters, right? So that's it. What Vaush is very incorrectly quoting that situation there.
made a couple comments that sort of indicated he doesn't care about consent, like not exactly an affirmative consent kind of guy, like choke them, make her say yes, that kind of stuff. I don't have like a clip.
I mean, like you should probably have a clip, because I feel like a lot of these are in like a BDSM context, and I've seen like your messages about horsecock. Like I feel like you should understand BDSM, Vaush. Come on, brother. Like you should understand like that kind of shit, as long as it's consensual. Like choking, I choke the fuck out of my wife. Are you kidding me? It's all consensual. She loves it. Okay, we both do. It's called sexual chemistry. It's consensual. My wife will choke me sometimes. She doesn't like choking me that much, but I like it when she does. Anyway, getting off. The point is that just because you choke a woman doesn't mean that it's non-consensual. Like that's a kink in bed. I thought we were like beyond this.
Here, I'm sure if everyone like Google's worst thing Andrew Tates have said, they'll find like a HuffPost article on like some of the more objectionable stuff. But the hatred stuff isn't really like the predominant thing. Even if there was no like hatred in him, like the dehumanization is enough for me. That hits the point just fine.
Okay. Well, so the slap thing, that was a joke though. Like you do know that, right?
I mean, yeah, people like him tend to say a lot of stuff that's jokes, I think. It's pretty difficult to tell because it fits perfectly in line with like all the politics he advocates for.
Well, if you watch the full clip,
like it's like a joke.
If you watch the clip, he's like playing it up a little bit, but yeah, okay,
right. And I've seen enough Andrew Tate fans to know like they have a pretty contemptuous attitude towards what you might call like a feminist affirmative consent model of sex having. So
I feel like this is a little bit of a stretch. Okay.
Clip share like infinitely back and forth, and this is a joke and that's a joke in this out of context, whatever. But at the end of the day, you agree with me. Like he literally thinks of humans like a lower type of person. That for me is sufficient.
Of humans as a lower type, or
I
women?
think women.
Oh, sorry, as women, like a women lower type of humans. My bad. So that to me justifies like literally everything that you would like criticize him for.
I don't know if I would phrase it like that. I think he thinks women need to be protected from themselves. At least the woman that he's in a relationship with, or that a guy gets in a relationship with. I don't know if that actually means that he thinks they're lower. I just think he thinks they're different.
By your own assertion, you think that he thinks that they're lower because you compared them to pets. So like you can't really hold that perspective.
Meaning, like, we can agree that women are physically weaker, right? Like, so if I'm walking down the street with my girlfriend and someone threatens us, it makes more sense for me to be the one that physically gets involved because I'm a lot stronger.
Isn't it interesting though that like the way that men need to protect women physically is from other men? Like, I'm just saying, like it's like, yeah, men need, I mean, like I understand it, like, yeah, we should have like as a man I will protect my wife, but isn't it interesting that when I do protect my wife it has to be from another man? No, like that's the whole context of the situation.
My girlfriend's 5 feet tall. So he just goes a little bit further with that line and thinks, well, women, maybe are a little bit more emotional. They tend to make more rash decisions. So maybe.
I disagree with that. Men are just as emotional as women. They just manifest it a little differently. I hate this idea that men get very angry. Men tend to express their emotions through like anger. Like men and women tend to think differently for sure, but that doesn't make it a less than perspective. This is where it gets a little sexist, where it's like, yeah, women are kind of dumb. They think too emotionally and they make bad decisions. I mean, everybody, I've seen tons of people make bad decisions in general.
It's your duty if you're in a relationship with your girlfriend to protect her from making bad decisions. I don't think he thinks they're.
My wife protects me from making bad decisions as well. Like how many, like, bro, okay, listen, this is like a real thing. How many people have been in a relationship where they wanted to buy I wanted to buy a new car. I might have the money. My wife's like, but maybe we should save it. I want to start a new family. That would have been a bad decision if I got that car. I feel like it's so one-sided. Like people make People protect their partner. Like people just work together to make better decisions for their life. Like it doesn't have to be this drastic thing where like women are fundamentally like fucking stupid. Like even the way that this guy talks about women is a little bit regressive, and I would consider it a bit sexist. I wouldn't say he's a bad guy. I know a lot of sexist people that are a bit regressive. That's like I mean, like I have fucking family members. You know what I mean? But I mean, like, come on.
It's inferior. It's just different. But women, for example, might be better when it comes to like, emotional stuff. Like when I say emotional stuff, I mean like, social situations, right? Like reading the room or maybe maternal things and stuff like that. So I just think he thinks they're different things. Not one is better or worse than the other.
The problem is like, that's what they always say, right? Like white supremacists will say the same thing. Like, I don't believe white people are better than black people. We're just different, like good at different things. White people are good at civilization, math, science, intelligence, and everything. Black people are good at basketball. The implication's always there. And also like the comparison between women and dogs and or children, like dogs and or children aren't like different kinds of adults. They're like legally and capability wise like worse than adults. Children are literally underdeveloped and dogs are literally not human. But these are frequent comparisons that are made.
Well, those are comparisons I made, just for the record, not Tate. I said those things.
No, I know. But that's what you're extrapolating from what Tate is saying, and Tate would probably agree with you to an extent. That was your representation of the argument, so you can't now just go like, well, Tate didn't say that. It's like, okay, but you're arguing that's what Tate thinks, so no.
But like he has as well. The comparison between women and dogs has been like a pretty common men's pickup artist thing for a long time. And dogs and children are lesser to adult humans, kind of by definition, right? It's if it was just like, oh, if you're a guy, like you should use your superior strength to help in situations where that's relevant, I don't think anyone would object to that. But he's talking about being like the leader in decision making broadly, because women can't do that because men do it better. And that is like a category of people he's putting on a lower step than men.
Okay, you agree there are fundamental differences between men and women, right?
Sure.
Yeah, but not when it comes to like their ability to manage their lives, the worth of their agency, or anything like that. It would just be like, their average like strength and size differences, reproductive stuff, minor stuff like that.
Definitely not in regards to their agency. But for example, it's not a really far stretch to say that men, on average, make better leaders than women. That's due to testosterone, due to some brain differences, right?
I don't know if I would agree with that. There tend to be more men in leadership positions. I mean, maybe I'm biased because I had like a very strong single mother who like dominated her field. Like she used to work for White Castle. She ran half White Castle. They wanted to promote her all the way up the chain, but she didn't want to like move to Kentucky. I was younger at the time, so I think women are perfectly capable of being leaders in different capacities. I think that part of it, maybe that part of it has to do with brain chemistry, but I think that it's impossible to tell 100% because then part of it I would say is environmental. My mom was raised by her, like my mom loved her dad a lot, and identified with her father more than her mother, and so like maybe it was like my grandfather kind of like taught her to be a man a little bit more than he taught the other women in the family. So like that was an environmental thing of like, my mother being taught to be more of a man kind of a thing. I don't know that I would make this sweeping generalization that women can't do these things. I would say that there's probably, maybe there's a genetic factor, but I'm sure that there's a pretty big environmental factor when it comes to leadership roles. We tend to not push women towards leadership roles, and you think that maybe just like maintaining that standard has an impact. I'm not saying that biology doesn't have an impact on this thing. I'm saying that we always assert like very heavily that environment is like I'm not saying that genetics don't have an impact on this. I'm just saying that like we fall heavily to genetics without considering the environmental impact of things as well, and that happens a lot. And that's where it becomes like not like really like a reasonable, nuanced conversation anymore. Just kind of becomes like a shit throwing contest of like men are better, without realizing it.
That's not a big stretch. I think there's pretty good data for that.
There isn't though.
Okay, you would disagree with that?
No, yeah, 100%. There's no evidence at all that the brain structure of men and women respectively makes men better leaders. But that belief is like a common like, oh well, it's not bigotry, it's science, right? There are social biases towards men in leadership roles, but sure. That's not really like an affirmation of the difference, right? I mean, there were social biases between white and black people in Jim Crow era America. Like that's kind of leading on the scales a little bit.
But you don't think massive difference?
Just say the N word at this point, brother. Like Jesus fucking Christ.
And testosterone will play a role in how assertive you are in a workspace?
I don't know. In terms of how assertive you are, this is very socially determined. When women are assertive, they get called bitches, and when guys are assertive, they get called go-getters. So there's kind of like a socially discouraging factor.
So I'm an Eagle Scout. Like I know that a lot of people cringe at that, but like I grew up like learning a lot of like leadership things. I'm supposed to like do something to these after I fucking kill them. Are you kidding me? That's fucking stupid as hell. Anyway. So, like, I'm pretty leadership-oriented. Dude, I swear to God, stop fucking with my shit, you nerd. Anyway, And part of that I learned from my mother, part of that I learned from Boy Scouts. With my mom, excuse me, with my wife, she has become a more assertive person being around me. Because like, you know, I was in a leadership position for quite a long time, not just in the like in the Boy Scouts, but I also like used to, you know, be a manager at the company I worked for. So like, and she's becoming like a more respected manager, but partially because of like that influence. I don't think that you need to have testosterone. I feel like, what is testosterone? What would it do for you in that sense? Like, would they smell your pheromones and instantly respect you more? Like, or would it be more that like you're more aggressive because you have testosterone? Because doesn't testosterone make you more aggressive? So like, what is it like? You need to be really aggressive to be a good leader. I would argue that that's like some of the worst leaders are overly aggressive. Maybe you could argue that like men being physically larger make it so that people have a higher chance of listening to them because they're just more intimidating. But I think that that's something that we could socialize out of, you know, our behaviors. I just don't think that like, I mean, maybe it does. I just think that we're leaning too much on this is a fact rather than this is like an opinion.
And even then, like, assertiveness isn't always a good thing, right? Like, lots of guys are so assertive that they're like machismo-laden dumbasses who get themselves in trouble 24/7 because they can't like restrain their ego. Oftentimes, like really effective leaders are kind of like patient, quiet, socially oriented. How can you say women are better at social stuff but men are better leaders? Like, isn't that a contradiction?
True.
Not necessarily. Being a leader is a very,
Kind of
very
is.
specific type of social things, right? It's a very specific and distinct type. There's many other types of social things. I think this is where you and I are going to disagree on. This is a whole new can of worms. You're going to say, I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, that the reason why that like 98% of Fortune 500 CEOs are men is because of you know, social factors and because of biases in the workplace. I'm going to say it's partially.
I don't think that Fortune 500 people are a good representation of like managerial material. I don't know if it's biological or social, but there does seem to be like a competitive nature that men have that maybe women don't have as much, which might explain that. But that's like, those are outliers. Most managers, we don't need to be Fortune 500 CEOs. Like, I feel like that's like that's just not, that's not a necessary comparison. I'm talking more about managerial roles that like are more realistic for people to maintain, like at their workplace setting. And more and more women are filling those roles more and more every day, and they're doing perfectly fine. Sometimes better. You know, I've had good women and men managers and bad women and men managers. You know,
because of that, but partially also because of biological factors. Am I assuming your position correctly?
You're correct. Yeah, I think it's overwhelmingly social influences
Right.
rather than biological ones.
Right, and I'm going to say it's closer to like split down the middle, but that's a whole can of worms that I think
you wouldn't consider it split down the middle of social and biological, because your argument is it's heavily biological. You're not even like accurately representing yourself here. What are you talking about?
we can debate for hours and hours on it.
The problem is that there's just no scientific evidence for the claim that it is. Usually because usually this is how it happens. This is like the problem with Evo Psych, right? You'll have a social bias. Some group of people are treated worse than the other. And people will say, oh, well, that's not unfair. One group is just naturally different / worse than the other. What's the evidence for this? Well, no. And then they like come up with some explanation. Then social circumstances change and that gap like sort of closes. And then like it was just like cope, right? Back in the 50s, the Irish had like a much lower average IQ than the English, but now it's completely caught up. But back then they thought,
no way, Irish people are dumb as fuck, bro. What are you talking about? I'm just busting chops.
because the Irish were just genetically inferior.
I'm just busting chops.
Yeah, I mean, again, like this is like I don't want to open up this rabbit hole, but I'll quickly address what you said. So I'm just going to share my screen real quick. There are fundamental differences between a man and a woman grade. Female has greater volume in prefrontal cortex, suprefrontal cortex, superior temporal cortex, lateral, blah, blah, blah. Males on average has greater volume in ventral, blah, blah. So there are fundamental differences, and you can just go through studies.
Yes, there are fundamental differences. The problem is that there is no exclusively one leadership style that dominates every single field. Like, I need you to understand this. Like, where a man and a woman might generally disagree with the way that they would advocate for their leadership style could be considered a strength or a weakness depending on the other people that they're advocating for. It really depends on the field. There's so many different factors. That's why what we do is we create a job, and then people fill that job, and if they do successfully, they'll generally stay in that position. If they don't do well, they will get pushed out of that position. Women having different leadership styles, generally speaking, doesn't make them worse leaders. It makes them different leaders that could possibly bring like a positive thing to a particular work style. And especially if your argument is going to be that like women, and I tend to agree, women tend to be more empathetic in my opinion. Then like that might be something that's a really good, like could be a really good leadership style, is to be more empathetic.
For days and days, there are fundamental differences between a man's brain and a woman's brain. Now, look, no one's going to give you a clear-cut answer how those differences in the man's and woman's brains are going to manifest in terms of their, let's just say, ability to climb the work hierarchy, right? That's going to be more of a theorizing type of thing. But there are, to say that there's like no differences between a man's and woman's brains is fundamentally not true.
There's also the aspect where like there are some men who don't respect women and won't listen to them as managers, which is a struggle for women when it shouldn't be.
like all the science supports that. Yes, there are. They've studied this to death. There are fundamental differences between a man's brain and a woman's brain. But yeah, that's, I think, again, a whole different.
I know there are differences, but the question is, to what extent can those differences be determined to be like causatively affecting social outcomes? We know there are differences in size and brain matter and stuff on average, but like there are no like leadership genes. The question is, now that we know those differences exist, what do they affect? There are, of course, differences that do affect stuff. Obviously, due to the hormone washes that men and women tend to be subjected to, there are differences in a lot of stuff having to do with reproduction, for example. They say like pain tolerance for women is higher. Women, estrogen makes you more emotional, so women are probably more likely to cry. But testosterone also makes you more emotional. People don't talk about that because like people even have jokes about like roid monkeys, like gym bros who like get doped up on roids and they get super angry and they're emotional and shit. But nobody says like testosterone makes you emotional. You know, they say it makes you like strong, because like emotional is the dirty word they use for women with their hormone. You know?
Let me just quickly address the testosterone thing. This is actually something I know a lot about because I take testosterone replacement therapy. I've thoroughly researched testosterone to the T. So you're partially correct. Testosterone does make you more emotional if you go to super physiological levels. But let's say you're a man who has low testosterone and you get on TRT and you get into like the optimal range, you actually become a lot more calm and grounded. That's exactly what happened to me. So I was having these mood swings when I had low testosterone, got on TRT, right? And when I got to the optimal range, I felt more calm and grounded, less emotional. Now, when I try to play around with it and go a little bit too high, yes, I did experience that. When you go too high, but it's with testosterone, if you're in that optimal range, that actually makes you calm and grounded. It's only when you go too high that you become emotional. That's a little bit of a side point, but it's not that like more testosterone makes you more emotional. That's incorrect.
Well, you're trying to like balance out within the physiology you have, but on average, testosterone does contribute to higher like degrees of violence or anger. So, for example,
yeah, that's probably true since men tend to be more violent and angry. So
it's not a coincidence that men are responsible for like 90% of violent crime, like everywhere, and a lot of that is a product of like crimes of passion, like impulse control stuff. So like in terms of like people say like women are more emotional, women cry more often, sure, but guys are more likely to snap and kill you. So in terms of like the problem it's the way this stuff gets like framed. You know what I mean? Like women are more emotional, so they can't be as good of leaders. But guys, well, it's like they're take charge, and then being angry is actually like in service of that. It's all these weird like linguistic tricks we play to justify the biases we have.
Yeah, I mean, you and I can go through studies for days and try to get to the bottom of how much of a role like the testosterone and brain differences make in leadership. I think we're getting off topic on the debate, so I want to bring it back to the that could be an interesting discussion we'd have another time. But I want to get back on track with the Andrew Tate thing. So we're talking about. You said that it doesn't necessarily need to be hatred. It can be just the fact that you're subhumanizing someone, correct? And that would be enough for you. So I don't need to. So basically, even if there's no hatred.
Wait, I just had like a brain fart. Sorry. Okay, so before he brought up like liberal racism and talked about like the condescending nature that some liberals have towards black people, he's 100% correct about that. If you agree that liberal racism is a thing, which it is, where people are condescending, then like you're arguing then you're saying that if that's liberal racism, then Andrew Tate has to be like a sexist. I'm sorry, I just clicked into my head because I was more focused on like calling I was more focused on like the what I interpreted, and I could have been wrong about him saying that like any liberal who advocates for marginalized groups is somehow like bigoted. I fucking got distracted from the actual core argument, which was that I can't fucking figure out what to do with this goddamn bullshit quest. No, was that that is bigoted to be like, oh, I know more than you, I'm smarter than you, I'm blah 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 blah. So like if you're going to concede to that, if that's your argument, you tend to agree with that. If you agree with Abba and Gideon, then like by that logic, like yeah, you would agree that Andrew Tate is sexist.
If Andrew Tate is subhumanizing women, you're okay with that being the reason to get him kicked off?
Yeah, because once you've deemed a group of people to be subhuman, you can do or say basically anything with them. You've basically designated them like a legitimate victim of any political claims that you want to make about them. Which is why like usually guys in the Tate sphere, like it's not long before you see people talking about like outlawing adultery. Or like there are a lot of people who don't think women should have had the right to vote. Like they think it was
outlaw adultering. What is adultering? Isn't adultering cheating on your fucking spouse? Voluntary sexual intercourse between a married person. They would never outlaw adult. What are you talking about? Like the biggest part about it is maybe adultering of women, but not of men. I mean, is that what his point was? Because they literally actively advocate for cheating on your fucking girlfriend. Or your wife,
stuff like that. Like it always goes downstream once you designate a group of people to be subhuman. I mean, that's what people have always thought about women in patriarchal societies, right? Like they love women. I mean, of course they love women. Like they love fucking them, they're pretty, they're nice to be around, but like they're still like kind of dogs that need to be let around, and like we have thousands of years of oppression of women to show for like where that attitude leads, Islamic extremists love that line, by the way. Like the whole like we love women, that's why we seek to protect them by covering them up so that their beauty is preserved,
True. That's a good point. I think I'm gonna become Islamic. Does that sound?
Yeah, sure. I mean, Islamic fundamentalists are a pretty bizarre group of people. But right now, we got to acknowledge that there's some speculation going on your side because Andrew Tate has never directly said women are subhuman. And if he did, correct me if I'm wrong. So we are trying to figure out, based on the other things he said, how he views women. Like, would you agree with that?
Yeah, it's not even if he hadn't said. I mean, he's literally said like you have to train women like dogs, and said women are like dogs a lot. I think.
I don't remember him
And I think he's
specifically
compared like
saying
your
that.
girlfriend to property. I mean, I think he's been like I didn't
Southern
like load up
charm.
like dozens of examples of
Mm.
whatever, but he's got a lot of content out there,
He
and I'm
probably
pretty sure he
should
ran
have.
through this like pretty often too. But like the attitude that he procured with his audience is pretty straightforward. Whatever language he used specifically, the derision and disregard for women was like a consistent product of his content.
What's the evidence for that?
I mean, I'm not entirely sure how to substantiate this, but like his audience is like full of the worst humans on earth. They hate women. They fear women because women don't call them back. So it's like an insecurity thing, you know, because that's like the bulk of where the attention gets, right? Like
He doesn't seem like he's super ready for this conversation. I brought it up earlier that different things that Andrew Tate said about women. One of them is like how women are worse drivers, for instance, despite the fact that like statistically they're better drivers, based on the fact that like it's cheaper for you to have insurance as a woman. They're safer drivers, and people will always go, but yeah, what about professional drivers? Like, yeah, but that's not our everyday driving experience. Our everyday driving experience is like getting from A to B safely. Women tend to do better at that. That's why it's cheaper for their insurance. They tend to get, I think that they might get into more minor accidents, but they get into less major accidents. Men tend to be more like aggressive drivers. Men tend to be the ones that drink and drive more. Men tend to be the ones that have more road rage, right? So, you know, and like despite this, it's like, oh, well, men are better drivers, is that? And then I remember Andrew Tate classically, he was like, yeah, if it's snowing out and I'm with an 18-year-old girl, of course I'm gonna drive. I'm not gonna let the 18-year-old girl drive. It's like, well, yeah, she's 18, you fucking idiot. You're like 35, so that would be bizarre. Like all kids are bad drivers, right? Compared to adults, generally speaking. So how the fuck? And that's where I think a lot of this comes from with Andrew Tate disrespecting women, is that he's always around legal aged adults, but like children. Like dumb fucking kids. I call like an 18, 20-year-old, you're a kid. You're a dumb fucking kid, because I was a dumb fucking kid back then too. And it's like, okay, if you compare a 35-year-old man to an 18-year-old girl, like of course they're going to be bad at everything. And that tends to be the experience in like this high value male sphere.
you hear an Andrew Tate fan, they're not my age and they're not your age. They're like high school kids, you know, sometimes middle school, and they're afraid and insecure of women because they're just hitting puberty. They're nervous, you know, and they know like women are kind of like the gatekeepers of sex, which socially to an extent they are, especially when you're young. And they're looking for answers. And then you've got Andrew Tate, who's using his like drop shipping crypto business to get a bunch of people to spam clips of him on social media. And they see this guy who's like yoked, talk about how like women are like dogs that need to be trained properly.
I don't know if I've ever seen him say
and this
that.
like really fucks with these kids, you know.
I don't know if I've
a
ever
lot of
seen
them,
the
like,
dog
massively
thing, though.
so. It's like a social harm.
Oh wait,
Spreads.
sorry.
Oh no, not at all. I was rambling for a bit.
Okay, but I would say, what's the evidence that Andrew Tate fans fear and hate women? Because I have friends who are Andrew Tate fans, and I can tell you for a fact that none of them hate women. So do you have
Well, you're a little sexist yourself, so I don't know if they hate women though. I think that Vaush is trying to put himself into like this bad spot where he would constantly claim that they hate women.
like some kind of anecdotal evidence, or you have like what is your evidence for that claim? Because that's a pretty big claim.
Well,
Like I could easily make that claim. Vaush's fans hate white men, right? But I have no proof for it, right? Like, so what's the evidence?
well, we're making the problem is here is that there's no way to compile evidence
Vaush's fans hate black people, guys. Come on.
that you would be satisfied with. We're making claims about people's like mental states, right? So if you collect 5 anecdotes from a population of millions, you can form any opinion that you want. With Andrew Tate fans, there were literally millions of fans. I could cultivate like a ton of stuff if I was given the time to, but it would always not be a representative sample. You would have to use like longitudinal studies to like assess the predominance of some attitudes developed over time in some spaces before and after Andrew Tate. Obviously, I don't have my hands in this research right now. All I know is that Andrew Tate absolutely compared women to dogs, claimed that he was a misogynist, that women needed to be controlled. He would make, at the very least, callous comments about rape and consent, you know, and that his, you know, content was enjoyed.
You could probably make some better arguments. I think that there was like a twit longer, or like he's a series of tweets where he said some pretty sexist shit about sexual assault. A long time ago. It was like kind of all over the place. I don't know why Vaush didn't do a little bit of research before he went into this conversation about Andrew Tate. Like, you don't have to do like a profound amount. I'm trying to find the specific tweets that he had made. They're gone now, but I don't know if I can find them. They're really difficult to find them. Yeah, that might be fucking impossible to find.
Enjoyed by an audience of millions, which I think you and I can agree definitely had a younger disposition and a very male disposition.
Sure. So do a lot of content creators. Mine, for example, I have primarily most of my audience is male. I would probably say that most of your audience is male too. Is that correct?
Yeah, for the most part, the politics game is a little bit
right, but this doesn't mean that you.
He said there was a long series of tweets where he said something about like how women are partially to be blamed for sexual assault. It was really insensitive and dumb. But then there was also a part of it where he talked about how some people are weaponizing like the Me Too movement, and they'll be like, they'll get really drunk at a party, and the guy will get really drunk, and then they'll both like have sex together, but then somehow like the woman was raped and the guy wasn't, kind of a thing. I don't have the specifics. I can't find it. I'm actually like looking for it. It's so difficult to find because it's all over the fucking place. And there's like a series of tweets. I don't want to just read the top tweet. There's like 5 different tweets that he made, so I can't find it right now. But
Your and I audience hates women. But I would say, don't you think it's important to actually gather this?
but it
evidence?
still shows like an ignorance on sexual assault for sure. Absolutely. I should really try
before
to
we
find
rush to
this.
condemn the guy. Like, I understand that it can be difficult to get this evidence, but don't you think it's a little unfair to jump to this massive conclusion that his audience predominantly fears and hates women before making a statement like that? Like, I would say that's very irresponsible to say that if you don't have the evidence.
No, not even remotely. He's not very subtle about the stuff that he says. Like, again, comparing women to dogs, dehumanizing them, bragging about being a misogynist, saying that he moved out to Romania because they have less cucked attitudes towards consent and rape and stuff like that. Like, you can pile on, and if somebody was dedicated enough, they could probably compile like hours of footage of him saying stuff like this. And I've interacted with Andrew Tate fans, and they are incredibly misogynistic. But like, I don't know what I'd present you then. Like, recordings of that, would 1 or 5 or 10 be enough? Because his audience was huge, right? You would need, for a representative sample, you would need an enormous number of people. I think to be honest, like the fact that he would brag about being misogynistic and comparing women to dogs and stuff is sufficient to indicate that misogyny was a core component of his content, and therefore the people who watched it.
Did Andrew Tate ever compare women to dogs? Like, seriously, I've never seen him do that. And I could have done it. I just feel like Vaush is picking up with what this guy, Alex, I guess his name is, said before, and he's just like running with that and not really arguing actual things happening.
Enjoyed the misogyny. I mean, if he's bragging about being a misogynist and comparing women to dogs, and his audience is consuming that content, I think it's reasonable to assume from that they like that part of the content and that it's reflective, at least in part, of their positions.
The comparing to women to dogs thing, you already know how I'm going to respond to that. I'm going to say that was a joke. That's my interpretation. Maybe your interpretation that he was.
Did he actually compare women to dogs? I mean, this guy compared women to dogs. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? Say, burp.
I believe that as a man, I should pay for the first date. I believe I should open the car door. I believe I should protect for her, provide for her. I believe if she's my woman, she should be able to come to me with her problems, and I should fix them. That makes me a sexist and a horrible person. Fine.
It doesn't.
You agree with the baseline. Everyone agrees with the foundations of what I say. When I build on top of it, they try to pretend it's sexist. By extension, if I have responsibility over her, then I must have a degree of authority. For the same reason, if I have responsibility over, and everyone's going to lose their mind, it's an example, it's only an analogy. If I have responsibility over a child, I have to have some authority. You cannot be responsible for something that doesn't listen.
Right. So then, like, you that's where it becomes like a little bit like a regressive sexist attitude, where it's like, okay, if I have responsibility over a woman, I have authority. That fundamentally makes sense, but then you're comparing like women to children, and it becomes different because women have the ability to make their own like decisions.
You can't be responsible for a dog if it doesn't obey you, or a child if it
See, like this isn't a joke. He's not even.
doesn't.
There you go.
Cool. Let's get a beautiful sports
He's not joking here. He's not joking at all. This isn't even close to a joke. This is like
child. I have to have some authority. You cannot be. I believe I should protect for her, provide for her. I believe if she's my woman, she should be able to come to me with her problems, and I should fix them. That makes me a sexist and a horrible
she should
person.
also have an equal say and have like a consensual say in that. Children don't get a consensual say in being able to be in that relationship, right? Because they're dumb. But if a woman wants to be like that, that's fine. But the general advocation that women should be in that relationship is the problem.
So fine.
It doesn't.
You agree with the baseline. Everyone agrees with the foundations of what I say, but when I build on top of it, they try and pretend it's sexist. By extension, if I have responsibility over her, then I must have a degree of authority. For the same reason, if I have responsibility over, and everyone's going to lose their mind, it's an example, it's only an analogy. If I have responsibility over a child, I have to have some authority.
It's an analogy. You're comparing the two. This is why people would get upset about it, because you're literally making the comparison that women are equal or similar to the children.
You cannot be responsible for something that doesn't listen to you. You can't be responsible for a dog if it doesn't obey you.
Is this the joke? This is you think it was just a joke. This isn't a joke. Not everything he says is a joke. He's being serious. He's comparing women to like dogs and like children. That's not a healthy relationship dynamic to be advocating for in general. It's fine if one person has like is a decision maker in the house. It's fine if it's the man. That's how it is in my house. But I never treat my wife like a dog. I never make decisions for her unless she explicitly wants me to make decisions for her, which is like the general status quo. But if she doesn't want to make a decision, a dog doesn't get to change whether they want to go outside or not. You will be like, no, you're doing this because I own you. I don't like, and like I do own my wife, but she has mutual ownership of me as well. You know what I mean? It's like, that's just our perspective. So this isn't a joke. This isn't a joke. It isn't a joke. You don't understand that.
Serious. My interpretation, and this is after actually interacting with the guy personally and kind of understanding his sense of humor, is that was kind of a bad attempt at humor.
It wasn't a joke.
But
yeah.
He was definitely.
It just wasn't a joke. There was no setup or punch. Like, it wasn't a joke. He was making the actual assertion, and he's hiding behind a joke. Some of the things he says are jokes, but not everything he says are jokes. That wasn't a joke. You really would have to be like, you'd have to be running defense for the guy to pretend that was a joke.
Not being serious again. You can interpret it differently.
He was being serious.
But I just think that claim that his audience predominantly like hates women is a very, very extreme claim. And it seems to be based on a series of assumptions. Like, okay, like if you want to say that I think that Andrew Tate hates women, you might have a better case for that because you can pull up quotes that he says. But then you want to go one step further and say, furthermore, I think his audience hates women. That is a really big claim. And like, yeah, I understand it's hard to gather evidence, but a little bit is better than nothing. Like right now, you're sitting at zero evidence for that claim.
Wait, I'm sorry. What is the evidence like provided? I need to provide a study that doesn't exist on this. I've interacted with Andrew Tate fans.
Okay,
They
so you
are
do have
there
some
for-
evidence.
Well,
Bro,
they're
I
there-
remember when Vaush used to do fucking used to. I listen. I don't even dig that deep into like all the evidence when I talk about stuff. I'm not gonna lie. But I mean, that was like what Vaush was known for, wasn't it? Like what happened? Why did he didn't look into like any clips before. He didn't give it like any pushback. He doesn't even really know what the fuck's going on here. Crazy.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, I don't really think anecdotal evidence is worth much. I mean, I could just lie to you directly, but
Well, it's better than
You
nothing.
keep
right?
saying
every
you keep-
Andrew Tate fan.
You
I've ever-
keep saying anecdotal evidence doesn't work. Every Andrew Tate fan I've interacted with is sexist. That's anecdotal evidence. What are you talking about?
interacted with on or off stream in any context in any capacity seems to have
Wait,
liked Tate
Destiny's not having an actual conversation with Jordan Peterson. That fucking piece of shit was a bait. What?
for the misogyny that was his brand.
I'll kill him.
I guess this seems kind of odd to me.
kill him.
If there's like a neo-Nazi YouTuber and they're like openly a neo-Nazi, I think it's safe to say like, oh, their audience is neo-Nazis. Not all of them. You know, there are people who hate watch. This seems kind of odd to me. If there's like a neo-Nazi YouTuber and they're like openly a neo-Nazi, I think it's safe to say like, oh, their audience is neo-Nazi.
Yeah, but like, so Andrew Tate doesn't openly like hate women. He doesn't openly say I hate women or anything. So like, you can't really go with the openly argument.
Not all of them. You know, there are people who hate watch, people who aren't really on board with the ideas. I get that. You know, you can't generalize all those people concretely. But the audience is defined by the positions they enjoy in the person they're watching. And in Tate's case, you know, it seems to be largely young, insecure men who are terrified of women and hate
how
them
Red
because they're
Pill
being
is.
taught that
Well,
feminism
no,
has
no.
made society anti-masculine and has made women, well, hypergamous, you know, so they'll withhold pussy. And go sleep with the alpha or whatever, which means that they're like contributing to societal decline, and they're all like gold diggers and so on and so on.
I don't know about that second part. The gold diggers part, like, yeah, I've seen them talk about that. The hatred for feminism, sure. I don't know about the okay, maybe.
And that makes them hate them. Like the insecurity drives the forces that make them hate.
The Nazi analogy would apply, for example, if Tate's content was just completely focused on women, right? But Tate's content was pretty multidimensional. He talked a lot about fitness. He talked a lot about mental toughness. He talked a lot about
Unfortunately, we barely got any of the fitness or mental toughness stuff out there. I did see some clips about mental toughness, so that's a reasonable argument to make. But like a lot of it seemed like, and maybe this is just because this is what his fans are picking up from this, because most of the clips you see are sexist clips, and most of the clips that you see are sexist clips that are saying this is so right and based. Like that's the problem, and maybe it's because kids shouldn't be exposed to Andrew Tate, and that's the problem. Maybe adults would have like a more nuanced take on it. Personally, I don't know, but you know, he did say on his website that he used to get girls to fall in love with him, and then he would make them he would have them do webcam shit, which seems very inappropriate and fucking suspicious behavior, to get girls to fall in love with you just so that you can basically like pimp them out. But yeah,
finances. He talked a lot about traveling. He talked a lot about politics. He talked about a
I really
whole
see a
bunch
lot
of
of
things,
that.
right? It wasn't one dimensional. Furthermore, I am absolutely not convinced that he has the part of his content, the small part of his content, or let's say the moderate amount of his content that was in regards to women was hateful towards women. My interpretation, that of a lot of people I know, that it was just kind of outdated, and he just thought women need to be protected from themselves, right? But he viewed relationships differently than I do.
it's weird that he says that he has a different interpretation on women than him, but then he will like it seems like he protects it a little bit. I wonder what he thinks is a relationship standard.
But I didn't see any hatred in that.
Well, what do you say about a person who has an outdated opinion on racial politics, right? Depending on how outdated.
It's a good question, but he's asked so many fucking unnecessary questions about black people that now it just comes off as like too much. But like, yeah, what would you say about somebody who has like an outdated perspective on like racial issues in general? You'd probably call them racist, or gay issues in general. You'd probably call them homophobic. Like, it's a good argument. It's just that like by itself, it's a great argument, but like because he keeps bringing up black people over and over again when it's just completely unnecessary, it's just fucking bizarre.
Those opinions are, you know, you can run back into hatred pretty quick. He
You
talked
can,
about
but you-
women a
okay.
lot. I was just saying, like, he talked about women a lot. And when he talked about stuff that wasn't women, it was usually in service of gender politics, which were still oriented around male supremacy. The fitness stuff was about achieving, like, masculinity and manhood, which was about increasing the likelihood of you getting mad pussy. Travel was often about flaunting his
so.
wealth. And the wealth and finances talk, I mean, he's literally a scam artist who runs a pyramid scheme. It is literally a pyramid scheme.
I just don't think it's literally a pyramid scheme. I think that it's like it's trash advice. I don't know if I'd call it literally a pyramid scheme, but
something like 48% commission for every extra person you sign up. So the parts of his like business that weren't misogyny seem to be grifting, which I guess maybe that's better than the open misogyny. I don't really know though.
So the pyramid scheme thing I'm writing down because I do want to revisit that. But going back to, sorry, what did you say before the pyramid scheme stuff?
Oh, just that a lot of the stuff that he did, you know, like being the best man you can be in his case, like oftentimes it was just like a sort of a frame within the gender politics, an effort to sort of cultivate self in a way that complements the attitudes that he has towards women.
Okay, Vaush, do you think you can hate feminism without hating a woman?
Um,
Probably, yeah.
Only by being really misguided. I think that you'd have to have a very poor understanding of what feminism is, but feminism is the ideology of women's liberation. So,
Well, I mean, it depends on like what, you know, there are some people who take it too far. I think it was yesterday where I was comparing women to dogs. I'm just kidding. I think I think it was yesterday where I was talking about how like incels are like the opposite end of the spectrum of like what your stereotypical blue-haired fucking feminist, you know? Where like they take an ideology fundamentally like, hey, there's a woman's rights issue, which is true, and then they take it and they use it to hate men. Whereas like incels are pretty much the same in some capacity. Yeah, so it depends. Like, you know, some people aren't. The feminism is supposed to be about advocating for equal rights, and sometimes some people use it to advocate for men to be like trash and, you know, hateful. I guess you'd consider like a misandry. So
again, when we say hate, like I don't know if hate's the right word here, because a lot of like really misogynistic rapists don't think they hate women. You know, they think women are beautiful, delicate flowers who are just kind of dumb and need to be led around by a guy. And if they say no, they mean yes. Like hate might not be the right word. It's just bad. It's a, you know, bad.
My understanding, I could be wrong, is that a lot of sexual assault happens because like it's more of like it's like a power thing. Okay.
Attitude. But yeah, no, I think that, you know, feminism being the women's lib ideology is kind of necessary.
Would you say that there's some parts of feminism potentially that have gone a little too far and have been nasty?
I would ask. I would respond to him with like, what part do you think went too far? That's what I would like to know. What part do you think goes too far?
Any social movement is going to like create people who are obnoxious and have ideas that sort of work within the dialectic.
Like women saying all men are pigs, all men are trash. Like you would
it's obviously wrong.
That, would you?
No, I think it's really dumb when they do that. I don't think it causes like a big social problem. A lot of those women go home at the end of the day and get like railed by dudes. So, you know, clearly it's not effective.
Sure, that we agree on. Yes, I do agree with you. The hypocrisy of extreme feminists. Sure. But
you know, I don't think that's extreme feminism, by the way. I think most women hate men a little bit, and this is like one of those problems. It's like a lot of women don't really like men. They like men, but they don't like men. I don't know how to explain it. I would say that there are women that fuck up men's lives, and there are men that fuck up women's lives. And I think it happens for everybody. There's women in my life who've been so fucking horrible to me. I just haven't developed like I hate women on it. But then like there's a lot of guys who will develop it, but like it's like a weird hatred. It's like I hate women kind of. I started, but I don't hate women. It's so hard to communicate. Someone were like, yeah, I hate like the men, but they don't actually hate men. It's impossible for me to communicate this because I'm never gonna be able to do a good job on like what the fuck I'm talking about. Some people, if you get what I'm saying, you'll get it. If you don't get it, I understand. It's like they hate some of the way that women have been treating or men have been treating them. Same thing with men when it comes to women. So it sours them to men and women, but like they still want to be with a man or a woman. That's what I'm trying to say. It's hard to communicate. You just have to try to like not allow that to make you actually hate men, but just like hate some actions that like a lot of men may take. Same thing with women, that hate some women that actions that women may take. So
okay, so if you believe that feminism, your view on feminism is that it's this thing where it's become about taking power from men, it's about shaming and hating on men. If that's regardless of whether it's true or not, if that's what your view of feminism is, and you don't like that idea, why can't you still at the same time be like, well, I like women, I just don't like this idea? That because even if it's true or not, I think that's what feminism is.
Like I said, I think you'd have to be misguided, because I do think that's a misguided attitude towards what feminism is. But this has always been like the attitude, right? Like as far back as women liberation exists, you can go to like Wollstonecraft or whatever, or even farther back. I mean, you can go to like what we might call like proto-feminists in the Islamic age, the Islamic golden age. You know, the attitude towards women has never been one of explicit hatred. It's always been of the paternalism. It's always been like women don't know what's best for them, therefore it's our job to sort of lead them around by the nose. And feminism looks to correct that. Even if there are sort of bad excesses at times, which has been the case with, I think, all ideological developments, I still think overall it's a good thing to believe in.
Okay, let's just say it's misguided, but being misguided is very different from being, let's just say, dehumanizing or hateful, right?
Okay, so here's what I don't like about what this guy's saying, okay? He's not necessarily wrong, but what I find interesting is that when it comes to men not liking feminism because there are some bad feminists that take it too far, those men are just misguided and disliking feminism. But when it comes to women hating men because like they've been treated like shit by men, we're not calling that misguided. We're calling that like actively like anger. But like in both cases, they would both be misguided. No, you know what I mean. So when it comes to like the incel, like hating women because they think feminists has gone too far, that's just misguided. But when it comes to the blue-haired feminist who hates men because they feel like men have done them like really dirty in their life, that is not misguided. That's just active hatred. You know what I'm saying? Like in both instances, it's people. It's just like an interesting. It's always that perspective where like it's always like that perspective where it's the person on the other side is being like dishonest in some capacity. You know what I mean?
I mean, it depends. If a person genuinely believes that there's an international Jewish conspiracy to destroy the white race by promoting the immigration of brown and black people, if they were to act on that sincere belief, they would be a neo-Nazi, or at least they'd certainly be something close to one. But I think it would be fair to call that person hateful, even if the hate is motivated by sincere,
misguided,
not delusion, a sincere misconception.
Okay, let's just assume a set of premises. Let's assume that Andrew Tate believes feminism is this nasty thing that's about hating and putting men down, right? Let's just assume that premise is true. And he doesn't like that idea. And he communicates
I think that's very clear that he doesn't like feminism. I mean, so he moved to another country for like two reasons. Reason number one was because he felt the Me Too movement was going too far, which is like a feminist ideology, which means that he would like by association that like dislike feminism. Reason number two is because he wants the corruption to be available to everybody with money, not just like politicians with money, right? So by this logic, like, yeah, that's a reasonable assertion to make that he actually does not like feminism and thinks it's gone too far. He thinks the Me Too movement's gone too far. That is absolutely an extension of feminism. He thinks feminism has gone too far. It's not unreasonable to say that he doesn't believe that. Like, he does believe that.
To his audience, and his audience also doesn't like the idea of a bunch of women putting a bunch of men down, right? And so their belief is that, hey, this isn't good for society. We shouldn't be putting men down. I don't want to be shamed for being a man, so I don't like this idea. What am I going to do about it? Well, I'm probably just going to say feminism sucks. So yeah, maybe I am misguided, but this belief isn't going to lead to these guys going out there and like fucking like attacking women or something like that.
Yeah, it does. Like maybe not actively attacking women, but like creating hatred for women. It's the exact same thing, bro. This logic, it's the exact same thing as women who take feminism too far. Like it goes both ways. It's this misguided nature. It's leaning too much into like your personal experience and bias on what's happening in the situation and starting to create a hatred for men or women depending on the situation. Like you can't chastise feminism going too far because of a misconception that men are all garbage, possibly because some women are being like ogled or raped, and then like be wholly charitable to the people, like to the men. I just don't understand. You can't do both of these at the same time. It's both sides would be misguided in this capacity.
This is just like, okay, I think this thing sucks. You can argue that it's been misrepresented and these guys are misguided, but I think you'd have a really hard time going further than that.
Well, he also bragged about being a misogynist and how women are dogs. So it seems like his dislike for feminism was motivated more by it being a women's liberation movement and less by, any kind of like misconceived understanding.
Both these guys suck, bro. Fuck.
Think of what it is. He literally believes women are lesser people. Of course, he would like take issue with their liberation movement, right? But even then, like the idea that these people don't go out and hurt people, yeah, they do. They rape people. Andrew Tate's like the stuff that he said about consent, like the like no means yes, or like you choke her, you slap her out, or whatever. I've certainly never seen the guy like.
Can he show what the fuck he's talking about?
Explain to his audience of young impressionable men like what affirmative consent is. Like rape happens. It happens a lot, and oftentimes the rapist doesn't even know they're doing it because they have a really fucking stupid idea of what consent is.
That's true.
So like the harm does exist. It does go out there.
Theoretical harm, sure, but
let's see what he's saying. I'm gonna.
Andrew Tate's second cousins with my uncle's badger. Andrew Tate.
Oh, this just says Andrew Tate, yes or no. I thought there was going to be like a quote that says no means yes. I'm just
like again, we're going to be at a standstill on this because I'm going to say, and again, I'm doing this in good faith, is that misogynist, him saying I'm misogynist and saying women are dogs is his attempt at humor, right?
But it's not contradicted with any like
it wasn't his attempt.
So like I make jokes about like saying, haha, I hate women and misogynists because I make like edgy jokes or whatever.
Yeah, but he's serious, so that's how you know it's not a joke.
I've done like political theses on the importance of feminism and women's liberation. You can tell it's a joke because it's contrasted against the extensive positions that I've laid out. But you say he's joking when he says like women are dogs, women are like lesser, like I'm a misogynist, haha. But there's nothing contrasting that. There's no like
it's not that deep. He doesn't have to have written a thesis on fucking women's rights to make it a joke. I don't know what your standard for jokes are fucking dumb. It's just that like he wasn't joking. That's what it is. We literally watched a clip. He wasn't joking. Like what are you talking about?
Actually, I do believe in women's liberation. I do think they're equal to us.
Well, I would say there's a big thing is the fact that he funded a women's shelter in Romania.
That's nice.
Well, that's good, I admit, but I don't think that takes away from his political positions.
Right, but there are things that he does that do go against basically the joke that he makes, right? Like you
Well, okay, no, it doesn't, right? So like if you're again, you be like he funds like women's shelters because he doesn't hate women. That's true. That doesn't mean that he's not misogynistic.
have made quite edgy jokes in your career. I have as well, right? That doesn't mean we believe those things.
Well, yeah, but I don't think that I don't think the idea that like essentially an act of charity negates your ideology, right? It's like the billionaires who will like toss like some millions to some social cause and then spend the rest of their life making that cause worse. That
I mean, you could argue that that would be Tate, right? Considering his advocation, sure.
doesn't take away from like the ideology or whatever. You know, and the ideology has been consistent. You know, if it was a joke, like the thing that I would need to believe that he was joking, in spite of how consistent he was with all that, was he would need to have like a consistent and principled like feminist advocacy for women's equality as like the main line for the content, and the jokes are like the exception to it, and it's funny because they're contrasted against the actual stuff he believes.
Okay.
Sure, I could say he could have outlined his true non-sarcastic positions better. I think he actually post YouTube ban has actually said that himself, that he could have lined out his positions better. He could have been smarter in the way he words things. Again, I think you and I are not gonna, because your opinion is that the stuff you're saying wasn't a joke. My opinion is that it was a joke.
It wasn't a joke.
You know, it's kind of open to interpretation. I was just making the point when you said there's nothing that goes against. There's no like conflicting evidence. I was saying, well, there's the fact that he funds a women's shelter, right? So there are some things. There's also, for example, I think that if Andrew Tate was, let's just say, malicious towards women or hurt women or even like, belligerent towards women anyway, there would be women coming forward and making allegations, right? He's clearly.
What there are. What are you talking about? They're like, listen. Just here's the problem. First of all, an allegation doesn't mean that it actually happened. We don't know how far that
Assuage those insecurities.
I just like accidentally rewinded it.
From themselves, right? But he viewed relationships differently than I do. But I didn't see any hatred in that.
Sorry, I fucking rewind.
Well, yeah, they do. They rape people. Andrew Tate's like the stuff, like you can tell it's a joke.
In your career, I have as well.
I don't think the billionaires will take away from like the thing that I would need to believe that he was joking. Okay. Advocacy for what's funny.
He could have outlined his true non-sarcastic positions better. I think he actually post YouTube ban has actually said that himself, that he could have lined out his positions better. He could have been smarter in the way he words things. Again, I think you and I are not gonna, because your opinion is that the stuff you're saying wasn't a joke. My opinion is that it was a joke. It's kind of open to interpretation. Really, I was just making the point when you said there's nothing that goes against. There's no like conflicting evidence. I was saying, well, there's the fact that he funds a women's shelter, right? So there are some things. There's also, for example, I think that if Andrew Tate was, let's just say,
this is where we're going.
Malicious towards women or hurt women or even like, belligerent towards women anyway, there would be women coming forward and making allegations, right?
So first and foremost, I just want to be explicitly clear. Somebody making an allegation doesn't mean that it's like true. However, like Daz had a bunch of people, he's claimed that a bunch of women came forward and said that he was a bad guy, blah, 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 blah. Right? So that doesn't mean that there aren't women, like by that logic, if we agree with, like there just seem to be some, although there doesn't seem to be like this huge active thing. But that doesn't mean that he's not sexist just because he's not abusive. There were some questionable clips that came up, but it seems like that was like a role play type of a deal. Just wanted to kind of bring that up.
Clearly slept with hundreds of girls, right? There's never once been an allegation made against him, right? At least not that I've seen. I've done a good amount of research. So I think that's also another piece of evidence.
I mean, a couple of points. There has been an investigation. I think there have been accusations against him, if I'm not wrong. But even I don't think it's necessary that any of those exist. I'm only concerned with his public platform. I don't think a person's YouTube channel should be deleted because they're a rapist off platform. Like that. That doesn't really manifest in the channel. It's.
What are you talking about? What? What? Wait, what? What? Wait, what? What the fuck is that? Wait. What the fuck does that mean? Oh, dude, I could not have heard that right.
I don't think it's necessary that any of those exist.
Wait, hold on.
I mean, a couple of points. There has been an investigation. I think there have been accusations against him, if I'm not wrong. But even I don't think it's necessary that any of those exist. I'm only concerned with his public platform. I don't think a person's YouTube channel should be deleted because they're a rapist off platform. Like.
What do you mean? What do you mean you don't think that somebody's platform shouldn't be banned because they're a rapist off platform? That is like I'm shocked. I truly am shocked that this motherfucker said that. Holy fuck. Is he joking? No, he's not joking. Maybe he'll say, "Well, no, it's actually a joke because I've wrote 5 theses on why women shouldn't be raped." Bro, I'm struggling with that one. I need a second, dude. What are you talking about? If somebody's raped somebody, they shouldn't have a platform. What do you mean? They're off. What are you talking about? By this logic, like somebody saying meaning words about women is more bannable than like actually sexually assaulting a woman.
Like that doesn't really manifest in the channel. You know, it's if he's like you know, projecting those political positions.
Well, we're trying to establish on whether he means that stuff or it's a joke, right?
What matters to me is the effect it has on the audience. And having talked to a decent number of Andrew Tate fans,
I know that he's saying that a rapist shouldn't lose their platform if they rape off platform. First of all, I don't know how you rape someone on YouTube. Second of all, I disagree fundamentally with that. I don't know. That's it.
if those fuckers were joking, they sure were consistent in their jokes, you know, almost unrelenting even. Because I never got like they're all anti-feminist. They all think that women are lesser and need to be controlled by men. There's no like, there's no ambiguity in what they believe. It's incredibly consistent. Like from Tate to the people who I've talked to and seen who like him, it's very, very, very consistent. You know, I don't think there's like a veil of irony that cloaks any of this.
Okay, so first I just want to very quickly address the real life stuff, the allegations. So there's two things that happened in his career, as far as I know. First was in England. One of the girls that worked for a scam thing, she wanted money from him. He didn't want to give her money. She wanted like basically a bribe.
No, that is not at all what happened. You are fucking horrible. I watched Andrew Tate talk about this. She didn't. Oh my god, both of you are insufferably fucking annoying. Like somehow Andrew Tate became the victim in this scenario. What had happened was that his top earning webcam girl threw up because she got too drunk in like his apartment or something like that. And then she didn't want to clean it up. So he said, clean it up or you're fired. And she wouldn't clean it up. So he fired her. And then he refused to pay her what he owed her with the work that she did. So she called the police saying that he was like suspicious in some capacity. What are you talking about? A fucking bribe? This is self-admitted. I watched him say this on the Fresh and Fit podcast. You guys are both terrible. This is horrible. What's fucking happening?
She threatened to go to the police. I don't know if she actually went to the police or not. I think she did. The police dropped the investigation. There was no charges first. There's nothing. The whole thing was basically like a joke. So there's never any kind of charges filed, and certainly he wasn't convicted.
What was weird though was when he was telling that story, he talked about how he like when the police went through the door, he like threw his phone away. He was like, yeah, I threw my phone away as like an impulse in case I had anything on there. That was like really weird to me. Like, why the fuck would you need to throw your phone away? But
in Romania, as far as I understand, and I have researched the story pretty closely, there was one girl who was at one of his parties. Her boyfriend called her from France. She panicked and said that she was there against her will. The Romanian police came, they investigated. No charges were filed.
I think that there was another girl there that like the mother said something happened. It's so unclear what the fuck really went on there. But
certainly there was no conviction. But I think the big thing is there was no charges filed, and he was on the street in like 1 hour. He just had to go down to the police station and make a statement. I think if there was any kind of a case, then at least charges would have been filed, and he would have to fight it out in court. Okay, now going back to what you were saying earlier, like okay, well, it doesn't really matter what happens in his day-to-day life. I care about what he says on the platform. So I kind of want to see where you draw that line. So let's say hypothetically speaking, I make a joke, it's a bad joke, and it causes some kind of harm to the public. Should I be deplatformed for that one bad joke because it caused some kind of harm to the public? Or does there need to be like 5 bad jokes, 10 bad jokes? Like where do you draw that line?
I don't think there's a solid line. There never can be. Even our like legal definitions for the point at which a person can be arrested for a crime are often pretty vague. Like find a consistent line for the legal definition of harassment, for example, or stalking. You know, it's really difficult to ever find a concrete line. But I don't think we're like anywhere near that line here. He didn't make a couple of jokes. Like he used his wealth to build a pyramid scheme empire where he paid people to spread clips that got billions of views, where he was consistently and unambiguously misogynistic, you know, sort of like blaming victims of rape, comparing women to dogs, stuff like that. It wasn't like we're not talking like degrees of ambiguity here. Like,
I really wish he would like cite his sources with this rape thing. I really can't find that tweets anymore. I really wish I could.
The reason the ban hammer came down on him when there were so many misogynists on YouTube is because he got so bad, so big, so quickly. He essentially became like a social harm. I think it was like morally necessary to deplatform him. Which and I'm glad they did, you know. I'm glad that he angered the normies to the point where he got nuked.
Yeah, on that we fundamentally disagree on. Okay, so since you're bringing up a pyramid scheme, let's just address this. So I could give you my explanation, but Spencer Cornelia has a really good video on this. Who's someone who I personally trust. He's very objective, and he's not a big like Andrew Tate fan. So let me just quick. Spencer Cornelia. Are you familiar with him?
Well, I wouldn't trust.
No, I'm not.
He's a pretty popular content creator. I think he's extremely objective, and I was actually surprised to see the video. But let me just bring up this video because he's going to explain a lot better than I can, and we'll take like a few minutes, and then we can kind of address this. So 1 second. I would have kind of written this up. I just didn't know we were going to get into like the pyramid scheme stuff. Okay.
I don't know if we can kick for the full 16 minutes.
No, we're not. Can you hear it? I just want to know.
Unfortunately, I can't. Only your mic is keyed in.
Okay, let me quickly.
If you want, though,
Oh, this is a pyramid scheme thing. Well, who cares? It's just like pretty irrelevant to the conversation. Although Vaush just keeps saying that like he's running a pyramid scheme, and that's not really true. But okay.
I can run through the video myself and look at the I can look at the closed captioning.
Okay.
To see it really quickly. Is Andrew Tate running a pyramid scheme here?
Right. Let me try to do that myself.
I see the video right here. Okay. Right here, show transcript. Okay.
How do you see the transcript?
There are 3 dots on the right side that you can click on. It says show transcript, and you can skim through it really quickly.
3 dots. Oh, right. I see it. Okay, cool. Let me do that too.
Okay.
All right. The Hustler University. Zooming.
Yeah,
Incredible. Favorite part of the conversation. Where the fuck is this sleeping Shatterhorn?
Yeah, I think around 206, 208 is when it gets interesting.
Let me see. Most people pay to recruit product, recruit business, and investment opportunities.
We're really doing this now.
First, I'm on legal single marketing, so I'm selling a product, receiving commission. For the markback example, for some of the hustlers, first you get paid a commission, indicating there are multiple levels for creating involved. It's just affiliate marketing, which is not illegal, it's inherently unethical. You believe it's just saying that you're rich, that you refuse to rejoin. Okay, so he's saying it doesn't meet the legal definition for pyramid scheme because it's effectively just affiliate marketing.
He's exactly. He's saying there's no multiple levels. It's just affiliate marketing, no different than pretty much what every YouTuber does.
Yeah, I mean that if you sort of draw that out, that does become a pyramid because all the people beneath you will still try to benefit from affiliate marketing themselves.
No, but what he's saying is there's no like pyramid means there's multiple levels, right? He's just saying there's not multiple levels. It's just literally like, okay, I have a product, like I have the Ultimate Dating Blueprint 2.0. You decide, hey Alex, I love your product. I'm like, hey, cool, Vaush, here's a link, and if you get one person sign up, you get 10% of that. That's your affiliate link, right? That's not me having a pyramid scheme. That's just me having affiliate. What he's saying, that's exactly what Tate is doing.
Cool.
Apparently, the affiliate program that he has been shut down. Hustle University affiliate program.
I think he shut down himself to put up a new one or something like that. To me, that does indicate that there's something suspicious going on. If he felt the need to remove it and just put it back up, but
he shut it down when he started facing all the public
that's
scrutiny.
definitely concerning.
But doesn't mean that he was running a pyramid scheme. I mean,
that doesn't mean that he wasn't running a pyramid scheme, but it's definitely super fucking suspicious that he was, after getting a lot of heat, he decides to shut down his fucking program.
This was investigated pretty thoroughly. There's just one level, it's just affiliate. There's no pyramid. But that was a common talking point that I saw.
Well, I know pyramid schemes like fly under the law like all the time. But the shape of that is still the reason I'm like pointing out that it's so in addition to the Hustle University thing being a scam on its own, which that's a whole that's a whole thing. I don't even care that much about it. There are plenty of scammers all over the place online. The problem is that he was using the pyramid scheme affiliate marketing thing as a way of distributing the clips that he had produced everywhere in a way that like can't really be dealt with without some like massive multi social media platform crackdown, which I think was pretty necessary in this case.
Have you gone through Hustlers University yourself?
Yeah, I looked through it on stream. It was pretty hilarious.
What did you think was like a scam about it?
Everything about like it, as a general rule to any people who are watching, if there's like some wealthy guy who's like telling you that you can be like him as he poses with a Bugatti or like shoots a gun or like does like LARPy training exercises when you know for a fact that he has absolutely no combat training or anything like that. What he's trying to do is sell you an image of masculinity.
Sure.
And not only is it fake because you can construct anything with wealth, literally anything, but like you can't have that. The thing that he's selling you is the money itself that he possesses. You can get all the like lessons online you want in like drop shipping, like training or like crypto investment or whatever. Most people who go through this end up broke. There's literally like a warpath through the internet, like from the .com boom all the way up to now, of people with these crazy ideas on how to get rich fast. And this is just like a continuation of that.
I get there's a lot of scams on the internet, but what about specifically about Hustlers University did you think was a scam? Like, what were the promises that were made that weren't true? Like, because as far as I understand, of course, there was a section about drop shipping, there was crypto, all things that people have made money on, right? I don't think anything about that is a scam.
Well, it's the idea that like anybody can do it kind of a thing. I mean, I don't know if you call it a scam. I mean, I think a lot of these get rich quick schemes are just fundamentally a scam in some capacity. So that's what kind of where I would argue from. But I mean, I don't care enough about Hustlers University to make it like, whoa, look at this. Big old titties. Hey, look at this. I didn't even know this was in the game. Okay. Anyway, sorry. I'm a little distracted there. How could you not, though? It's a fucking tree with titties. Damn, she got an ass, too. Woo! I want to talk about titties and ass. I got a porn bot coming in here. Come on, bro. I gotta stop talking about that stuff just so I don't get the porn bot. Anyway, what was I saying? Oh, who cares about the Hustlers University? It's a distracting conversation.
people have made money on crypto, but not most people who get into crypto. A small number of very wealthy people, usually people who already had a lot of money, made money on crypto, in addition to a collection of early investors. But we've had like a giant crypto crash recently. Like obviously any advice on investing in crypto, right? Like in the past couple of months, it would have just led to a bunch bunch of people losing their money. I mean, it's a pump and dump scheme, right?
Okay,
and the
Vaush,
dropshipping thing,
I don't
like
think it's
if
pump
making
and
money
dump,
online was
but-
that easy, like more people would do it to the point where you reach market equilibrium, and then it would no longer be profitable to get into. There's not like a hidden market like anywhere. It's not like the gold rush days anymore, right? Like there are no like cheat codes or whatever. Most people who get really wealthy really quick are really lucky.
dick.
You know, that's the secret.
This guy.
All right, Vaush, would you say a professional poker player who writes a book about how to be good at poker is a scammer?
No, if they provide tips on how to be good at poker, which is a skill-based game, of course.
But there's luck.
Sure, there is. There's luck in everything.
There's a lot of people who play poker and lose a lot of money.
True.
Of course. But
Right.
people understand that poker is a competitive game with luck elements. The problem is that people have no clue what they're getting into when they're like paying an online course to get drop shipping and crypto investment advice. First of all, if you're getting crypto investment advice from anybody, you should immediately like never listen to them again. Nobody has crypto advice that's good unless it says don't invest. Because odds
Maybe.
are it will not end up in your favor. Like that's the good advice, you know. But I'll give that for free. And as for the dropshipping stuff, like this is pretty standard stuff, right? Like he's using the image of like wealthy masculinity to sell a product. He's gotten really, really wealthy off gullible people. I just think it's kind of like morally wrong. It's not always illegal, right? Like, you know, this stuff is
So Vaush, so we have a little bit of common ground. I agree with you. There's nothing like magical in his course that's groundbreaking. But then again, he's only charging $50 a month for it. So I
That's
probably
a
wouldn't
lot of
expect
money,
a
so.
course that I pay $50 a month for to give me some kind of like magical information. But you would agree that a lot of people who pick up poker books are like, oh, poker is awesome, right? There was this big poker boom about 10 years ago, right? Oh, I'm going to make a lot of money playing online poker. Most of those people don't make a lot of money. They make either no money or they lose some money. Like you would agree with that, right?
Let me put it this way. If there was a poker player who had a website where they were like in a Bugatti or a private plane and they were like, you can have this. And then it's like for $50 a month, the poker tips that'll get you loaded. Here's like 50 people who have gotten really wealthy. Don't look at the 200 who haven't, you know? And then they did that. It's like, here's $50 a month. I would say that's
What good odds. 50 people got wealthy, 200 lost. Shit, 20% chance. Shit, that would be pretty good.
equally unethical. It's not just about the information that you're providing, it's also about the way you're providing it and the expectations you're
Sure.
setting and the subscription model too, right? Like that's because the shit they do behind the scenes is disgusting, right? It's never just like, oh, here's the product, here's what you get. There's this constant, like, this is the problem with advice, right? Like Dan said, you know, it's something that can only be evaluated in retrospect. You never know how valuable the advice you're getting is until after you've already paid for it.
What the hell?
Always. So you get into this like month by month scheme, and you're you know, every day, you know, next month I'm going to give you the course that'll really teach you to grind down on dropshipping or whatever. And it's like these tactics exist in other types of media, like gotcha games. They prey on weak-minded people who have a
Gotcha.
dream of something like a social attainment or wealth or power.
Yeah, but like, I mean, I would call gotcha games like a scam loosely in the same way I'd call Hustlers University a scam loosely, but you wouldn't call it a gotcha game like a multi-level marketing scheme, right? So like, again, this conversation seems to be fucking relevant, but
And it strips them of everything they have, and Tate becomes a multimillionaire, and a lot of people just sort of fall in the cracks.
Okay, but just because there's some over-the-top marketing doesn't mean the product itself is a scam, right?
Well, I think the marketing the marketing determines whether or not it's a scam, right? Because if you're honest about a bad product, it's not a scam. If the marketing is consistent with the product, it can't really be a scam by definition.
Oh, but then 99% of the internet is a scam. Everyone does over-the-top marketing. Like everyone, probably with the exception of me, potentially. Like literally, like literally every single person, any industry, fitness, health, supplements.
Oh yeah.
lifestyle,
Oh yeah.
does over-the-top marketing. Everyone's promising more than they can give. Like that's so. Then, according to this definition, like pretty much everyone's running a scam.
Yeah, I wish the FDA would really crack down on supplement testing so that all the people like Alex Jones who are making millions of dollars selling like 2 cents of zinc for $65 could get like the book thrown at them. I think that'd be great personally. It's just truth in advertising stuff. Back in the 20th century, we've like labor unions fought for consumer rights when it came to like labeling on packaging or like what corporations had to disclose or like how transparent they had to be. And I think it's you know, truth in advertising. I think it's good to sort of expand that as broadly as
What the
possible.
fuck?
But Tate, I think, and a lot of other people who will do
Oh,
this,
those tree
here's crypto
butts.
advice for
Damn.
$50 a month bullshit.
How
Like it's
fat it
worse,
is.
I think, with them. You know, they take it farther than the average average guy.
Yeah, I mean, I think if your definition of a scam is someone who has over-the-top marketing or branding, then yeah, probably sure you can make. the
Not
argument
just over the top. Everything's over the top. Japanese commercials on Pocky are over the top, right?
Right.
This is like deliberate,
Yes.
protracted manipulation of people's weakest instincts.
I mean, do you
selling
think
them a fake
Coca-Cola,
dream.
or fast food restaurants, or any of those big companies do anything differently?
Yeah, because if you want to buy a Coca-Cola, it's like, here's $1 that you pay once. Here's a bottle with Coke in it. With Andrew Tate, it's the secrets.
Well,
of
yeah,
wealth.
you get the product. And when I pay for Coca-Cola, I get a product. Problem is that with fast food restaurant, it's like here's a soda for $2. Okay, or you go to the store, get $1 for a big fucking 2 liter. And for some reason, the food at the drinks at the fast food place taste so much better. It's fucking crazy. They must be putting piss in there or something. The girl at the counter must be spitting in it. I don't know. It just tastes so much better.
Can be yours, but they're gated behind a monthly subscription and this social club. And as is often the case with these pyramid schemes or whatever, if you join up and things don't go well for you, it's your fault, right? Like, oh, you're drop shipping, your crypto investment's not making you money. Well, that's because you didn't do it right. So it creates this feedback loop where
and once I've heard Andrew Tate say this, once you unsubscribe, like even if you resubscribe, you'll never be successful. Because like you've given up and you lost like the passion or something. Like it's honestly such a piece of shit move the way he talks about it. It's fucked, brother. It's fucked.
Drained from people with like no reprise. Like it's like they get fucked by this, right? Like it's a real like cult mentality victim thing, you know? But Coca-Cola also like pays for death squads to kill striking workers in the in Latin America, so whatever.
Okay, well, let's take a gym. They have photos of like really sexy people looking jacked, and probably most of those models are taking steroids. The gym knows that most people are never going to look that good just from going to their gym, right? So what is their goal? Well, their goal is to get people to basically look at that photo and be like, oh, I want to look like this guy, or I want to get that girl, sign up.
True. I think that everybody that's on the fucking test and shit should have to disclose that they're on test. And other PEDs. I feel like this guy should agree with that, and I feel like it actually would be a scam. To sell some bullshit supplement to people without that.
For that monthly membership. After 2 months, they stop going to the gym and they collect monthly membership. I don't see how this is any different than the gym. Like,
well, I think gym memberships are crazy exploitative. I've tried to cancel gym memberships multiple times because I have a home gym now, and like it's like, oh, can you come in person to cancel it?
Sure, okay,
what the fuck do you mean?
Why is that exploitative? What are you talking about? Aren't you fucking idiot? What? Okay, whatever. Words just don't mean anything anymore, guys. I forgot. Fuck.
Annoying.
You want me to come in with a gun?
I've had that happen at LA Fitness too. Yeah, it's like super annoying. I just call my credit card company and just have them cancel it.
Yeah, like so. No, gyms are pretty, but to a lesser extent, I think, because the broader like the thing that they're offering is upfront and available. You can go to a gym, you see the machines, the pool, the locker room. You know what you're getting with the membership. Whereas the purpose of a subscription model with something like Andrew Tate's thing is this interminable like gatekeep behind info and social access that you have to continue paying into, not just to continue benefiting from it, but also to like get the next secret. It's not so like you can be in a gym for one day and immediately know, is this worth my consistent monthly payment? This is what it is. It's unambiguous. But advice, again, has to be valued in retrospect, especially financial advice.
But the reason people are joining the gym is to achieve a certain image that is being advertised in the ads. Like in the ads, you never see like some like average fit guy. You see some super jack dude or some super hot chick with big tits, right? It's always so like that image, like 99% of people who are going to the gym, they're not going to get there, right? Because they don't have the discipline, they don't have the willpower, but they could theoretically, potentially.
Well, that's different though, because like you could theoretically achieve the best version of your body. Everybody could do it if they sort of more willpower. And if you take 100 people, like, and there's no trade-off. Like when it comes to winning crypto, it's people have to lose for you to win. When it comes to going to the gym and getting healthier, nobody has to lose for you to win. So this is how that would be disanalogous.
Good genetics look really good if they stick with their workout, right? The gym is just giving you the tools, right? But the gym is, I don't see how this is in any way different than the gym. The gym is giving you over-the-top marketing to try to get you in the door so they collect your money payment. So I think that if you want to say that,
I think it would have been better to sit with like the fucking like sell you this supplement, maybe, you know what I mean?
Well, Andrew Tate's Hustlers University is scammed. Then you have to say, okay, well, gyms are scammed too because they promise you shit that probably 99% of people aren't going to achieve.
Unrealistic promises are just a part of advertising, but the difference with the gym is that you can always assess exactly what it is you're getting. If gyms had like progressive tiers of membership where the longer you stay, you unlock extra secrets that they claim will definitely boost your muscle growth by this amount, and then they're like giving you like hokey like bullshit. And by the way, considering the fact that Tate's encouraging crypto investment, he's actively encouraging people to drop their money into a toilet. So like the gym, you know how much you're paying. It's the monthly membership per month. Whereas with like this drop shipping, which you have to invest in, or crypto, which you have to invest in, you're paying money for uncertain info that changes, contextualized based on stuff that you can't predict, and the info is on stuff that's usually bad financial advice that will then cause you to lose more money over like hope. I don't think they're comparable at all.
Okay, I think we would disagree on that. I mean, I would say that it is up to you at that point as an adult to decide if you want to get involved in crypto, if you want to get involved in drop shipping. Now, the crypto crash happened way after Hustlers University came out. I think if he was writing this course now, he probably wouldn't put crypto in there. But to be fair, at that time, before the crypto crash, every single person, literally that I knew who had a lot of money was investing in crypto. Like, I mean, crypto was the hot thing. So back when the course was created,
that's not a good argument though. For
crypto was right, but there's been a lot of financial advice that used to be good wisdom that turned out to be bad wisdom. Right, like that just happened throughout the course of like decades. Like, oh yeah, like invest in this and this and this. Bam, that thing crashed. Oh, you know, .com, yeah, they're not going to go bam, that crashes.
And
Oh,
they've all been
stocks are
scams. Like, you're describing the
But
history of people getting scammed.
But stocks aren't scams. They just turn out to be a bad investment.
People telling you.
Sure.
So first of all, there's a difference between stocks and crypto investments, because stocks are reflected by the performance of a company, and crypto
Sure.
is purely speculative, in which the only value assigned to crypto is more.
I guess that's true, but at the end of the day, they are like similar. I mean, I feel like this part of the conversation is irrelevant.
buying into it, which means that it's by definition a pump and dump. You can like invest in crypto, and if more people buy in, your crypto gets worth more. But at the end of the day, to cash that money out, which you will eventually want to do, because crypto isn't a currency, it's a speculative investment. You have to pull out, and that lowers the value of the coin for everyone. And if everyone does that, the coin is worth nothing. That's the difference between crypto and like regular money, right? If everyone withdraws money from a bank at once, that money's still worth the same amount. Even if the bank has trouble, if you get your $100, it's worth $100. But if everyone sells crypto at once, you might sell.
Is that true though? I know this is like a weird question to ask though, but how true is that? Like, because if people have like a bunch of money in the bank, does that mean that bro, why are you entering combat? Are you fucking kidding me? Doesn't that mean the money's not in the market anymore? I don't know. Maybe I just don't understand things. And then once you insert more money into the market, wouldn't that increase the cost of like goods and services? Because that's what increases. I just don't understand, brother. I don't know. Because if it's in the bank, is it in the market? I guess they gamble it in some capacity on stocks. So does that mean it's in the market? I just don't know, dude. I just don't know. I got to talk to a smart economics person for that one.
Like 2 bitcoins and have it be worth 0.08 bitcoins by the time you actually get your transaction paid out.
Okay, again, I want to avoid going down a rabbit hole. I do disagree with you that crypto is purely speculative. I think it is definitely a big part of it is speculative. It also has some practical, tangible uses. There's a whole bunch of reasons why people prefer crypto over any other type of money, including the fact that it can be traced by the government, so you don't have to pay taxes, including the fact that, for example, there's lower processing fees. There's a lot of practical reasons.
Wait, they don't. They don't have lower processing fees. In order to go through Bitcoin transactions, you have to go through their very limited sort of a rate of processors, and that can cost a lot, like tens.
What's the
or
percentage
hundreds.
on that?
It varies based on the traffic at a time.
Because I'm pretty sure on credit cards it's like
I guess that makes sense.
If you're a business, you pay like 3.9 or 4.9 or something like that. It's not cheap. As a consumer, you don't ever see any of that, but if you have a business, you see all of that. That's why a lot of businesses are like cash only, like, you know, hey, please pay us in cash.
I get that, but like you can potentially pay like a lot of money on a transaction through crypto, depending on the market at the time. You can track people through crypto. It's not just to do.
I'm just gonna fast forward because like I don't want it to be such a boring aspect
that's
of
a
the
negative.
conversation.
I want them to be taxed. There are billionaires who are like hoarding wealth through crypto acquisition and then like using a fraction of their wealth to advertise it so other idiots buy in, and then they like withdraw so that they like make the money. You know, it's a pump and dump scheme, right?
No, I disagree with that. I'm just looking it up, like how much are cryptocurrency exchange fees under 10,000, 0.4%, 10,000 to 50,000, 0.6%. I mean, yeah, that is definitely less than credit card processors.
But it depends. But it depends on, first of all, the percentage can vary based on the amount of electricity used to make that transaction. Doesn't change that much for the amount you're making. So if you need to buy something that's $3 with crypto, then you it doesn't work. You know, like you might have to wait a bit for the transaction to go through, and the fee might cost more than the thing you're actually buying. If you can't use crypto for like day-to-day transactions, it's not a currency. If you have to go through like big block exchanges beforehand, then that's not different from selling stock. Then it is a speculative asset.
Oh yeah, I don't want to go down the rabbit hole of debating crypto. So let me just veer back to the Andrew Tate thing. Where were we on that? Let me approach it from a different perspective. Okay, how about this? You're a big time content creator, you know, fairly big, right?
I hope so.
You make, I'm assuming that's majority of your livelihood from YouTube making content. What if you got deplatformed? That would be the end of your career, or close to the end of your career, right? Like, as a content creator, shouldn't you be very, very concerned about another content creator being deplatformed? Because why can't you be the next one?
I mean, if I made my money as like a Starbucks barista, all you have to do as a Starbucks barista to lose your job is snap at a customer one time. As a content creator, we have more job security than basically any other profession in the history of humanity. We have the job security of like medieval aristocrats. I feel like we overstate like the threat that we face very often. It is something that I'm concerned about, but I'm more concerned with why people get deplatformed than that people get deplatformed. People get fired from jobs all the time, right? Deplatforming is relatively uncommon, certainly relative to the rate at which people get fired from jobs for like petty misbehavior.
It really depends on what side of the aisle you're on, but let's.
I guess kind of. I don't really know. I mean, I guess it's what you consider deplatforming. If you consider it deplatforming to like, I don't know. I mean, I really just don't know. People do get fired all the time. I feel like it's in lower jobs that like don't really matter too much. It's like, but also like, what is deplatforming? Some people make a big mistake and that nobody deplatforms them. I feel like most of the time somebody, dude, what the fuck is happening here? How do I get this stupid little bitch to stop following me? Anyway, most of the time when people get deplatformed, it's oh, I guess I ran away because I yelled at it. It's like they made a big mistake and then people don't really want to watch them anymore. It's kind of like a Def Noodles was like deplatformed because he was like, he fucked up and people just didn't want to watch him anymore, kind of a thing. But
let's say someone like Destiny getting deplatformed from Twitch. You wouldn't say that Destiny is some woman-hating Nazi. He's a pretty liberal guy who has a generally pretty holistic message. Like, if that can happen to him, why can't it happen to you?
Bro?
Certainly can
I
happen to me. I'm probably on some issues more extreme than Destiny.
I've been banned from Twitch twice.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, it has happened to me. Destiny has definitely done some pretty spicy stuff that directly conflicts with Twitch TOS. So I don't know if it's out of left field with him necessarily. But I'm mostly concerned about the logic behind deplatforming. Like Andrew Tate was deplatformed because he posed a social harm, a significant one. I think it's okay to ban people for that. But I don't think there's a neutral way of doing that. I want people
Again,
to
the fundamental question is like, well, what do you like? What happens if the script was flipped, and then like, let's say more conservative leaning people owned social media instead, and like, what's the standard for something being considered social harm versus, you know what I mean, like not palatable? Like what happens if like conservatives own social media and they're like, yeah, I don't like it when people talk about being transgender because I think it can have an influence on kids or something. And you're like, well, I disagree with that, blah, 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 you know what I mean? And then we kind of get locked into this argument of like, that's why we try to make more fundamental laws so that it doesn't matter if there's a difference in opinion. We have a set standard of basically advocating for like legitimate violence and calls to action or calls to harm, so that we don't get locked into the situation where people are just potentially like using bans and deplatforming as like a political pawn type of a deal.
be banned for being the wrong things. If a person is like a Nazi or like a super bad misogynist or a racist or whatever, I want them to be banned because it's morally wrong for them to spread those messages. And I'm happy with rules and regulations that deprioritize that kind of content.
Okay, but let's just say hypothetical. What if the politics in the U.S. Swing far to the right, and they succeed? Like, look at this liberal white man hating Vaush. He's spewing all this like liberal hatred. He doesn't go along with our agenda. Let's ban him. Like that could easily happen if the coin was flipped.
Sure, and they would do that anyway. But even so, I would just argue against it because I don't think it's moral for them to ban me for being left-leaning. Like this is like saying like you shouldn't arrest people for being murderers because if the murderers ever achieve political power, they'll arrest you for petting puppies in the park. You know?
No, I don't think it's like that. I think it's more about content creators sticking together and really not wanting to see their own get kicked off the platform.
Well,
but
people do bad things, right? Like I stand with my fellow citizens of America, but if one of them's a murderer, they should be arrested. They're at the end of the day, like when we create rules, they will always be biased in a given set of directions. Like we have laws, you know, it's like, well, right now it's illegal to rape people, but if like super pro rape guys become in power, like, oh, well, now who's in charge now? Like, yeah, people who have power, but I'll argue for the responsible use of that power as long as I'm capable of doing so.
Yeah, but in that instance, it's somebody like actively taking away someone's autonomy. That's very different than like, words on the internet,
And I think that Andrew Tate being like a bad guy, I think it's okay for him to be deplatformed.
Right, but then again, it just comes down to who decides.
What's up, Tipster? It's funny because I mentioned at the beginning of the video, you didn't scare me away from the chat. I popped in to see what video Destiny was watching because I wanted to watch it myself. And then when I saw you in there, I said, oh, guys, there's too many fat people in the chat. I got to go. That was just like a little joke. I wasn't sticking around anyway.
He's a bad guy. You think he's a bad guy. I don't think he's a bad guy, right? The tech oligarchs think he's a bad guy, or at least they did in this instance, right? Or whatever reasons they had, right? But that's like there's so much power that's being made by such few people. And just to me, it's like as a content creator, like I don't want that power to be in the hands of very few people because very well I realize the tide could go the other way. It could sweep against me.
Well, how do you think laws are made? The laws that we have against rape derive from British common law, which would have literally been written by aristocrats and their pet lawyers. The people who decided that it should be illegal to rape were acting out of more consolidated power than any like tech oligarchs are today. Should we then be?
Well, right, but like so the words and advocation for ideologies are like a difference in opinion, I guess. Actively taking away someone's autonomy is a little bit more straightforward. It's like, okay, if you rape somebody, you're taking something actively away from them. Whereas if you're advocating for a particular thing, like maybe more regressive women's issues, I obviously disagree, but that doesn't mean that it is anywhere near the same thing as sexual assault. We talk about rape way too much on the internet nowadays. Holy fuck. Sorry, I'm just like so every other fucking day it's like a burnout. It's insane.
Mad whenever a rapist is arrested because the source of their arrest was a rule created by an unequal world?
But what terms of service did Andrew Tate break? That's like the answer that no one can ever give.
No, the YouTube terms of service on hateful content, he basically like lit with a torch. Like he basically like torched it.
What?
But I'm not making an argument for like proceduralist DOS following. I'm saying like morally, I think it's okay. Even if I have a problem with the system we live in, like I'm an anarchist. I don't like laws in the sense that they're constructed today. But if a rapist gets
okay, that's another thing we can debate at a later date. But go
yeah, like but like so like I don't like our criminal justice system. I don't like laws as they exist currently. I don't like these institutions. But if a murderer gets arrested, I'm not going to complain about it. Be just act from an unjust system. I don't like our tech oligarchs, but I do agree with this act, so I have to defend it morally.
I guess it's a different way of looking at it. I look at it completely differently. I look at it more of like, let's just put it like this. I'm a construction worker, right? I work in construction and I have a boss and my boss has all the power.
Hey, are you really a construction worker or are you just saying you are? Is this stolen valor, dude? We gotta stop fucking with our hardworking construction workers, guys. This guy's he's stealing the valor, dude.
And my boss decides that he doesn't like that the outfit my fellow construction worker is wearing on that day. And he decides to fire him. And like, while I may personally not like that guy, that is very concerning to me because what if my boss decides the following day that he doesn't like the outfit?
I guess that's true. It depends on the outfit. Usually construction workers are required to like follow like OSHA requirements, right? Is it OSHA? I know OSHA was at my job. So maybe the outfit that he was wearing was actually in violation of that. But that would be like a conversation about freedom of expression, I guess. Sure. Sure, I guess that one actually makes sense.
And I'm wearing to work and he decides to follow me. That's kind of how I view things. It's like we are sort of like all intertwined as content creators. And to me, it just seems like almost like just like being like a Benedict Arnold in a way. And I'm not making that claim to you.
Did Def make a joke about what they thought about me? I am not gonna watch his entire I'm not gonna watch Dennis's fucking roast. I'm so over that fucking dude. But if you have a clip of him specifically asking that, I will watch that. But outside that, the guy's so fucking boring. I'm so over him. He's irrelevant. I watched like a video today because when people asked me to, it was fucking boring as shit. Like I fucking hate. Like he's guy's so boring. Like he's a nobody. And like talking about him is just keeping him relevant. He wants that. If he's talking about me still, it's probably because he wants to stay relevant in some capacity. You know, but if I talk about him, that's not the truth. Just kidding. But like I'm watching a video about the guy, so I feel like it's different. But maybe you disagree. I don't really care. So either way,
I'm just saying, like in general, when
not watching
anyone's in favor of content creators being deplatformed, unless the reason is so extreme, like directly promoting violence, like say, hey, let's go and loot this store and kill those people, that could be an exception. But aside from that, which Andrew Tate did not do, he did not incite violence, then I'm like, okay, but like this could happen to any one of us if the tide is turned. So I don't want it to happen to any of us.
What if your construction worker coworker was just really misogynistic on the job site and got fired for that?
Well,
I wouldn't agree with that. I mean, there would be no construction workers. There'd be no fucking construction workers left if that happened. What are you talking about, boys? What the fuck, dude? What are you talking about?
It depends. I need to know more information. Like, is he saying that shit at work, or he just believes in his like at home? Like what's the context?
Well, we're talking about people acting out their jobs. So in this case, would be him saying he's a misogynist. I think women are dogs. You know, he makes jokes about like slapping them around or raping them. You know, he thinks.
Jesus, I don't think that he's ever made a joke about raping women. But okay,
they should make decisions for themselves. He shares these opinions openly. You could get fired from a job for that. I don't necessarily think it would be a solid.
Not a construction worker though. They're not going to fire you for that. They're going to welcome that. They want you to say that. Okay. All right. So just keep that in mind.
Severity issue, you know. Again, content creators get way more leeway when it comes to misbehavior than like any other group. As a content creator, there are YouTubers who literally have been like nonces and then have gotten back into it. Like Shane Dawson, can like just walk back onto YouTube. You know, content creation.
Shane, what did he do that was so bad? I thought he was like a super liberal, like chill dude. What did he do? I thought he just made documentaries and shit.
He was very, very creepy with like young people and cats. I think it's a whole thing.
He made a joke about fucking a cat, and then he made like some uncomfortable jokes about kids. Sure. I mean, Vaush, you dropped like the fucking like Pugger's hard R word and like advocated to not. Had some sussy opinions on age of consent. So I feel like what you did was worse than Shane Dawson. People just liked Shane because he was you know, he was like a really wholesome figure for a long time. I'm gonna drown. And so they held him to that standard, and that's pretty much why that happened. But yeah, you know, honestly, Shane Dawson, like people, it's the fucking drama sphere. People need to cope on that shit. Who fucking cares?
It's a giant rabbit hole. That's not a rabbit hole. That's like an eldritch pit that you find in the middle of a forest.
Vaush, can I just quickly point out the irony of you talking about another content creator being weird with cats as you pet a cat?
Yeah, right on my lap too, and it's like a creepy hairless cat too. Look at that.
I know that.
Pigeon. Nope. All right. Well, never mind. You know, I'm just saying, like, content creators, I think, are generally given a lot of lenience. I do worry about like losing my job, you know, like because I don't control YouTube or Twitch or whatever.
No.
I don't think I do stuff that warrants a ban. I make edgy jokes, but I think that I abide by both the procedural TOS restrictions, and I also do like I think my content is morally good. I imagine a lot of people think that, you know.
I'm sure Andrew Tate felt the same thing.
I'm sure, right? But like that's how it always is, right? Like, well, the Nazis thought the Nazis were right, and the Allies thought the Allies were right, and Emperor Hirohito thought that, you know, we should kill 4 million people in Manchuria. You know, like everyone thinks they're right. We have to appeal to a broader set of moral values, and you know, I'm comfortable with the morals that would lead someone to say, yeah, Andrew Tate has to go.
Yeah, I would realize the crux of our disagreement with the analogy you gave earlier. I would say a better analogy is my fellow construction worker is like a Mormon or something like that. He has like 5 wives and believes in a lot of weird Mormon shit. Now, personally, I'm not a Mormon. I think having 5 wives is weird as fuck. That's just like 5 times the headache that you're gonna have. But I don't think he should be fired for having a complete different attitude towards women than me, right? So I think that would be a much better analogy. That's kind of how I view things. Like Andrew Tate has a different attitude towards women than I do. I don't.
Yeah, sure, but it's not religiously based. He'll say that it's like, oh, blah, blah, blah. He'll talk about how we need more religion, but he doesn't give a fuck about religion. So like in that case, from a real world perspective, there are protections in place for people of different like religious ideologies and whatnot. So, you know,
I think it's one that he should be punished for, though. That's kind of where we get into the crux of our disagreement.
Well, a Mormon has religious freedom. They couldn't be fired for being Mormon, but if they made women uncomfortable in the workplace by sharing their sexist moral views, then they absolutely could be fired, right?
Fortunately, that would never happen. There's a coworker that I had that would follow women to their cars and like hit on them even if they're like, I'm uncomfortable right now, and they didn't do anything about it. Because like honestly, these are some examples of like pretty regressive workspaces.
I have a guy. He's not a Mormon, right? But he's just, I don't know. He loves something about having 5 wives. He decides to go to some different country. He gets married, or he has some kind of really weird relationship that is not one that I would personally take up on. But he's not really. I don't see anyone being harmed by him having that relationship, right? So I would not want.
I mean, I don't know why we're doing real world comparisons. Only because like this isn't the real world. Like somebody, like nobody's gonna look at somebody that might be like Andrew Tate in the real world and go like, we gotta ban this guy from work. That's not what's happening here. Like Andrew Tate would be like your typical kind of like dickhead misogynist that like you would work with. He's your typical fucking mechanic or construction worker. So I mean, again, I don't think he should be banned in general, but there's like a lot more social advocacy in that case. So like somebody that's sexist like Andrew Tate, obviously, is that their argument. And again, I don't think he should have been banned. Is that he's reaching a massive audience, especially children, and he's polluting their minds with like this bullshit ideology. So I don't think the real world arguments really work that well.
Punished for having a relationship that I personally don't feel like I should have or isn't right for me. That's
but it would be about their workplace behavior, right? I would never argue Andrew Tate should be deplatformed for stuff he does off platform, given maybe some exceptional circumstances. But it's the stuff he does on platform.
Like what you said like before that like rape doesn't constitute somebody losing their platform as long as they don't do it off platform. So I don't really understand what are some of the things that you feel should have people deplatform.
He's working at his job, this hypothetical person with a weird attitude towards this, that, the other, and he's being really misogynistic to other coworkers or towards customers, then I think they could be banned for that. Well, it would be like what they do there, And if Tate was privately misogynistic but publicly responsible, I don't think I could make these arguments, Then it would be like you could hate the guy for what he believes, even off platform, but I don't think that's an argument to be banned from YouTube.
Well, let's just say that construction worker is sharing stories about his relationship, right? And then he gets kicked off for that. He's not actually telling me I should have the same kind of relationship. Furthermore, I would say it's even more messed up.
Well, it depends on how in depth he's getting in the relationship. Like technically, if Andrew Tate, if this construction worker said some of the same things about Andrew Tate, where like he's talking about like, okay, if for the things that Andrew Tate has said, he would get fired from, or he could get fired from like an actual real job, right? So talking about how you have like a machete in your house, and like talking about how if a woman cheated on you, if you cheated on a woman and she tried to come at you with a machete, you beat the shit out of her. That would make people, if that made somebody uncomfortable and they said that, then they absolutely would be grounds for at least like some kind of like an HR thing. Talking about aggressively fucking women, that's something that's considered sexual harassment that can get you fired. This conversation is just all over the place in like a weird way. I don't really think. Yeah, okay.
That coworker didn't get any kind of warning or any kind of thing like, hey, can you stop talking about it? He just got fired from work, right? We would think that, okay, if this is something that goes against the culture of the company, he should get a warning or have some kind of chance to stop his behavior.
Not necessarily. I mean, you could. Again, I mean, in the real world perspective, that's not necessarily true, but okay. Depends on the job, depends on what you did. It can make somebody feel very afraid if you're talking about like fucking beating the shit out of a woman to death after you cheated on them. So like I couldn't see why that would personally get fired from a company and not get a second chance.
Not yet.
I disagree. He had the TOS open to him. I mean, he knew. No, I know his stuff pretty openly violated the TOS. But even besides that, like, he wasn't just like casually stating his personal life and beliefs on the platform. He was convincing millions of people to follow his ideology. He was making prescriptive claims. He wasn't just saying like, this is how I like to live my life. He was saying like, this is how women are. This is how men are. This is how we should behave. This is what you can do to be an alpha. So he was giving advice. And again, this would get you banned in a real workplace. There's nothing that Tate did that wouldn't get him banned in a real job, unless of course he was the CEO, in which case he would probably just get like civil suits for sexual harassment. But outside of that, like he got more leeway than any regular employed person would.
Have you ever had a YouTube strike of any kind on your channel?
A couple of times. It's always like content idea stuff.
Yeah, me too. I got one, right? So typically YouTube policy is whenever someone breaks the rules is to remind them they broke that rule. And when YouTube wants to take things further, instead of just giving you a playful like whatever, like a reminder warning, they actually give you a strike. And if you get 3 strikes, then you're out, right? So that's a pretty fair system, right? That system that is in place wasn't followed in Andrew Tate's case. He didn't get like a strike like, hey, you can't do this content. It was like, you're done, completely kicked off. There was no chance to redeem yourself. There's no chance to change your content. That is a pretty extreme situation. Like, why was he treated differently than me and you were treated when we made content that went against YouTube's terms of service?
Well, they would argue that his content's much harsher, right? Like, I mean, that fundamentally isn't really the argument you would go with, because like you could just argue that like people would be like, well, his content was really extreme and I thought it was wrong. Okay, because like if somebody came on saying like screaming the N-word, you would probably be like, yeah, we should probably ban that person without a warning. You'd have to, then you'd work from there of like, I don't think what he did was too bad, blah, 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 blah. Yeah.
Well, you can get insta-deleted from YouTube if they find 3 strikes at a time. You're not limited to only getting 1 strike at a time. But there's nothing in their TOS that limits them from just banning people off platform anyway. Like,
sure, but that's standard policy.
Yeah, but imagine, for example, if there was a YouTuber who dropped a video that was them just giving you like a 40-minute step-by-step instruction on how to like molest children. Which is, by the way, that video would not in itself be illegal depending on how it's phrased. I don't think that's a 1-strike video, right? That's a 3-strike video.
Why'd you need to add that part in there, Vaush? What's so weird? Like that's weird.
That video would not in itself be illegal depending on how it's phrased.
Why do you have to add that in there? That's just suspicious. What if somebody was making a step-by-step on how to molest somebody? Okay, yeah, that's something that should be banned. But technically, it may not be illegal based on how they say it. Okay, why do we need to know that? What's the relevance of us understanding that? Well, why? Why would you even need to say that? It's just weird.
I don't think that's a 1-strike video, right? That's a 3-strike video to me. That's a you're out of there type video.
Okay.
So I think we can agree there
Even
are
if it's not
situations that
illegal?
are extreme enough
I
where
don't know.
YouTube has
It's
the right to
weirded
just
out
sort of
by now
swing down
by
the
that.
hammer. And given the fact that
Why would
Andrew
you
Tate's
say
like
that?
this uber wealthy like media magnate
Bizarre.
who's like weaponizing his if not pyramid scheme, at least like financial empire to spread his content farther than any person could on their own. Like he's not some little
He
witty
was looking up the legality of it before. He's like, I'm really thinking about dropping this incredible banger, but I don't know how it'll be received. Is this technically legal? Like, I don't know. That just seems so fucking weird.
channel, right? He got invited to Tucker Carlson right after he got banned. You know,
he did.
I'm not too concerned, I guess, about his well-being given the social harm he's caused.
Well, I'm glad at least I got you to stop saying pyramid scheme, so that's a small win right there.
It's a pyramid-shaped scheme. So sorry,
Come on, don't go back to that.
it is literally a pyramid shape. All the affiliates
Come on.
down form it's a pyramid-shaped
We're making some
scam.
progress.
A triangular scam, not a pyramid scheme.
Just affiliate marketing, bro. Just affiliate marketing, regular affiliate marketing that most people do. I don't think someone's money or wealth should have anything to do with like how the policy is enforced on them. I agree with you. There's some extreme cases. So if I make a video like where I'm like saying, yo, go kill these people, they probably won't give me. Although I don't know how it'll work, but I'm assuming. Let's just assume they
I
would
would
just kick me
hope
off the
that they just
platform.
kicked you off.
But that's like
platform,
really extreme things. That's less about like your message and like the things you're saying. That's more like you're saying like really out there things. I personally don't think Tate was anywhere close to that. Like he's not inciting violence. I just think that okay, fine. Like
Kind
you
of
think
like talks about like rape victims, sort of like bringing it on themselves, joking about like.
when did he say that?
I said rape victims have to take responsibility for what for the rape, like or like
He did say something like that. I just can't find the full tweet because I feel like there's some context that should be added to it. It's still bad, but I just can't find the full fucking set of tweets that he says. So you know, of course, Vaush will definitely show us that, right? But no, but I would feel like I'd need the whole thing.
their part in it, you know, like wink nudge. Like,
okay. Vosh, all right, let's discuss that. Okay, because I'm actually pretty familiar with that. So if you watch the long form content on that, what he was actually saying is this. He's saying, obviously, I think rape is messed up. I don't think anyone should be raped. However, if I had a daughter and I would tell her not to go out late at night on a certain part of town because
That
that is
might
going to
have been
increase her
what it was,
likelihood
but I
of
can't
being
really
raped,
trust his
right? So
interpretation
that's basically
of
what he was
shit.
saying is that with rape victims, there's things you can do to minimize the chance of rape happening. And if you just defer and just say, oh, well, I have no control in this matter, you're actually limiting yourself. And that's a pretty reasonable position to have. It's like, hey, listen.
I mean, maybe. I don't know if I trust this guy's like a representation of information since he hasn't gotten it right once when it comes to his like. He got it wrong when it came to the joke about women being dogs. He got it wrong when it came to one of the stories that we were talking about before of the woman who wanted money. He said she was trying to bribe. She was asking for blackmail or some bullshit like that. But she wasn't trying to scam out of money. She wanted her money.
Like,
I just
obviously,
can't find
it's
this
not your
fucking
fault,
thing.
but there are things you can do to limit your odds of being raped. Rape is wrong either way, but like you're not doing people any favors or any service by saying it's totally outside your control. There are elements of things that you can do, like have a taser, not go to certain parts of town, that will minimize the odds, and thus it is partially with your control. That's not a crazy position.
But everyone believes there are things you can do to lessen the chance of being raped. Sometimes, oftentimes people are just drugged, or the rape happens from somebody they already know, or the rape happens like mid-sexual encounter, or they're already drunk. You know, oftentimes there is like literally nothing they can do. You know, but in the cases where it does happen, like taking responsibility, like, this is the definition of victim blaming, right? Imagine if you're in like Saudi Arabia and there's like a Western woman there who like goes to a private party as part of a like a bit of business travel, and she dresses as a Westerner would, which is legal within the context of that business party. And later, like a magnate like finds her and rapes her or something. And later, when this gets out, people are like, "Well, she wasn't wearing a burqa." You know, you wear a burqa to protect yourself against men's eyes. You know, so you need to take responsibility. Like you could have prevented this. You can understand how like this is basically just like rape apologia, right? Like you're essentially just like minimizing.
No, Vaush, no. I think it's not unreasonable if you're a father to a daughter in Saudi Arabia that because you don't want your daughter to get hurt, you would tell her, hey, I know you don't like the burqa, but maybe you should wear it until things change. That's not an unreasonable thing for a father to say to his daughter. If
I have a potential rundown of some of what this said. I don't know if this is everything though, so take it with a grain of salt. In one tweet he wrote, sexual harassment is disgusting and inexcusable. However, a man looking at you, whistling at you, or asking your name isn't harassment. Another thing reading, secondly, Harvey, creep, obviously, but women have been exchanging sex for opportunities for a very long time. Some did this, weren't abused. Which, like, I understand what he's saying. There are women who are, like, complicit in the game. They're like, some women are happy to have sex for favors, for, like, job favors. Doesn't make it right because it puts you in a situation where if you set the standard where, let's say one woman wanted to fuck a guy for a promotion. Now every other woman is going to have to fuck somebody for a promotion if they want to get promoted, or else they're getting held back. So, like, it absolutely is disgusting. So I don't like that perspective on there. Of course, now they will say that they were abused. However, at the time, it was simple exchange for they partook in the voluntary, not all, but some. Tate then tweeted, next point, if you put yourself in a position to be raped, you must spare some responsibility. I'm not saying it's okay you got raped. So, like, again, like, this is a dumb fuck perspective. No woman should be abused regardless. However, with sexual assault, they put zero blame on the victim whatsoever. Okay, there's missing tweets here because I believe he talks about how if a woman gets, like, really drunk, she's partially blaming for getting raped. I disagree. You should be more responsible in getting drunk and not getting drunk. But, like, if you get really drunk and somebody identifies that you're really drunk and they're not also drunk to the same level you are and they decide to have sex with you, they raped you. regardless of whether it's a man or a woman. So, like, they're not all the tweets are here. I'm having a hard time finding like all these tweets because they're so old. But like, yeah, it shows a profoundly unintelligent perspective on like rape culture that could probably be educated into him if you pushed him a little bit more on there. Good thing that nobody even tried to push him back on those tweets. Like, God forbid somebody had a real powerful conversation that mattered. But yeah, I don't know if I could find the tweets here. But that wasn't an accurate representation of what Andrew Tate actually said. It's like fucking, it's just not an accurate representation. Yeah, okay.
If I had a sister, I would tell her that same thing if I lived in Saudi Arabia. Just like if I had a sister and she's like, Alex, you're so wise, give me advice. I'm really worried about rape. I'll be
like
okay.
saying, hey, listen, like, try not to get too drunk because some men will take advantage of you and they'll sexually assault you. That's a fair thing to say. But saying, like, if you got really drunk and you got raped, it's kind of your fault in part. That's not right. Right? You understand, like, why this perspective is very wrong and dumb.
Okay, well, obviously rape is messed up, but there's certain things you can do to minimize the chances. That's not unreasonable.
That's not what,
okay,
that's
has
not
he
what
ever given
Andrew Tate was
advice to
giving.
men on how not to rape women?
Well, I mean, like, Vaush, like, you just don't rape women. Like, I think
well, that's interesting, isn't it? Because if his interest is in preventing rape and his audience...
So if you're going to follow this guy... Okay, so this is just... You're going to follow... Okay, oh my God. Yeah, I mean, sure, there's definitely... You shouldn't rape women. I mean, I talk about, like, the more depths of, like, sexual assault, like, shit here, but not everybody, like, fully understands that kind of stuff. But, like, you're not going to be able to just teach rapists to not rape a lot of times. You know what I mean? At least not in, like, with the minimal understanding that Andrew Tate clearly has on sexual assault. So I don't know if this argument is really that much of a gotcha. Yeah, because some things you have to do is, like, you have to teach potential victims of sexual assault or in general to, like, try to minimize the bad things that'll happen to them, even if it's not their fault if they do happen to them. Like, you know, hey, look both ways before you cross the street. Like, obviously, a fucking person, even at a crosswalk, even when the light's red, you know what I mean? Because you don't know if somebody's going to run through that light, and at the end of the day, you're going to get hurt regardless of whether you're acting, you know, properly or not. So that doesn't mean that it's anybody's fault for getting sexually assaulted, but, like, there's a conversation about minimizing risk for yourself. Sure, Andrew Tate wasn't doing that. He just wasn't doing that. Like, you don't engage with that as if that's a fucking truthful thing that happens. I just read the tweets.
Men, like, I'm willing to bet 99% of the people watching are men. It's very interesting to me that his rape prevention strategy would be reminding people that rape victims need to take responsibility, but no mention at all of what men can do to not rape women. Which a lot of men rape women unknowingly. A lot of men rape women because they feel entitled or because they feel embittered or insecure.
Yeah, I don't think Andrew Tate has any depth, like, in understanding of that, like, concept. So I don't think he would really be able to advocate for that.
Feel powerful over a woman. They hate the fact that women, you know, get their pee hard. So they you know, that it sort of manifests as a complex. And a lot of guys just don't know what consent is. So they'll fuck a woman who's blackout drunk. They'll fuck a woman who is, like, murmuring no, but the guy, like, pretends not to hear it because he thinks that if he gives good enough dick, like, she'll actually end up liking it. Which, spoiler alert,
that's definitely a rape. I don't think that's I don't think that's ambiguous at all. Okay,
that doesn't work. Don't do that. Like, are these tips coming through Andrew Tate, the rape preventer? I think not, and there's a reason why.
Vaush, but I think if a man wants to rape a woman, a YouTube video is not going to defer him from it. Just like, for example, if someone is determined to go out and kill people, you're not going to convince them from a YouTube video. All you can do is give advice to potential murder victims and say, hey, listen, maybe you shouldn't walk around with large amounts of money, not allowed chains, don't go to this part of town at night. I think it seems more reasonable to give advice to potential victims than to criminals who are going to commit an illegal act. And I don't believe a YouTube video can get criminals to change their behavior.
The point of Andrew Tate's streams is to change people's behavior. He's trying to teach you how to be an alpha. Why would he believe in the ability to change millions of people's behaviors? His whole Hustle Academy thing, all of this is about changing behavior, but you can't change it out of doing something bad, maliciously or otherwise.
Do you think you can change rapists from raping? Like, do you think
absolutely? Yes. Really? Yeah.
No, you can't. So this is the problem: is that both of them are having, like, a different perspective and on what, like, sexual assault is. So Vaush's perspective is that there are people. This happens a lot. There are people in general, but, like, usually it's men or boys that will put a person that they're sleeping with in a position where, like, they're not realizing that they're putting either, like, an intense amount of pressure onto them to the point where they may not be able to accurately say no or something in that capacity, right? That's definitely happening. For most people, there's a very limited understanding of that, so you wouldn't put that expectation. This guy's probably on the left probably isn't operating from that perspective. He's operating from the perspective of, like, yeah, this is rape or it's not rape. And so, like, it's just like a pissing contest. I don't know. It's like, you know, I just wouldn't put that expectation on an average person to understand that in any, like, profound way, I guess, is my point that I'm trying to make.
Yeah, a lot of rapists rape because of political opinions that they have. There's a reason why.
What?
Yes, like thinking women are subhuman. Yeah.
Maybe.
Do you think there's a relationship between, like, hate crimes against black people and racism, for example? If you can convince people out of being racist, you lessen the likelihood of them doing a hate crime. Likewise, a lot of rapes do happen, like, unintentionally because a lot of guys don't understand consent. You can convince people out of this. You can move them from that position. But
I guess that's not a bad argument. Specifically, like, if you respect women more, you'll respect when they say yes or no more. Yeah, I guess I could be on board with that. One makes sense. Sure.
I think Tate's content was like rape maximization. I think like that, like
I don't know
the
about
content
that,
form
but-
that he produced is like optimized from making young men rapists, both in the sense that they have no understanding of and an active disregard for consent, and in
I
that
think that like the fundamental argument of like teaching men to be less misogynistic will reduce the amount of like harm onto women in general is a really good argument. Sure, like definitely. I still don't think it's a call to violence, but okay, sure. Why the fuck can I not do anything with this quest?
they're contemptuous towards women, which motivates a lot of bad behavior.
Okay, there's so much you said that I want to pack. Can you give me 1 minute to take a piss and then we'll get into it?
Sure.
Nice.
Oh fuck, wait, yes, I can. I think I can go for another half hour.
All right, cool. That's all we need.
All right, let's go wait for him to take his piss.
Let's say there's two sides to preventing rape. One is on the male side, or let's just say mitigating rape. There's no matter
I
what.
mean, Vaush should just not be engaging in this conversation because it's not an accurate representation of what Andrew Tate said. So I mean, but
say what you do, there's always going to be rape, right?
just
But let's just say
doesn't know.
mitigating rape. One is on the female side, one is on the male side, right? Let's just assume that content creator chooses to address the female side. He says things like, "Hey, listen, as a woman, if you want to, minimize your chances of having something very bad happen to you, maybe you shouldn't go to this part of town at this time of night. Maybe you shouldn't, go home with a guy that you barely know. Maybe you should meet a guy in public first." Is that unreasonable?
I don't think it's unreasonable to give advice, but I think it has to be evaluated in the context of the situation. Given the fact that what Andrew Tate was doing on the opposite end was kind of cultivating pro-rape behavior on the guys. Like, let me put it this way. Imagine if you have a sun downtown in like 1943, right? In the American South, if you're black and you're out after dark, like you're probably going to end up on a tree, you know? And let's say that like in one summer, like 3 black kids get lynched within the same week, and there's outrage. And in response, the white governor of that state puts out a bulletin advising black people how to not be in those neighborhoods. Do you think like that might like kind of signal a certain set of intentions? The fact that the governor, like, it wouldn't be about like additional resources to catching the hate mobs or the lynchers or
Wait, so this guy Boruto Hayes, are you in here thinking I'm reading what you're saying? Was this directed at me? All you did was repeat what I just told you because you didn't have a good response. I've looked into it. Are you talking to me? I haven't even been reading what you're talking, or are you talking to somebody else in the chat? Like, who the fuck are you talking to, bro? Like, do you think I'm paying attention to you? Paying attention to the video and what I'm doing on the fucking screen. I'm confused.
or anything like that. It's just like, well, how do
Sorry.
neighborhoods? Do you think like that might like 3, right? In the American South, if you're black and you're out after dark, like you're probably going to end up on a tree, you know? And let's say that like
Maybe.
in one summer, like 3 black kids get lynched within the same week, and there's
Jesus Christ.
outrage. And in response, the white governor of that state puts
Okay,
out a
so-
bulletin advising black people how to not be in those neighborhoods. Do you think like that might like kind of signal a certain set of intentions? The fact that
I mean, if there was like a legitimate epidemic of black people getting lynched after a certain time at night, and the town was like, or somebody in the town was like, "Hey, stay inside from this time to this time because this is happening," I actually don't think that that would be racist. I think that would just be trying to mitigate a problem and being like, "Yo, like shit's getting fucked and we're having a hard time monitoring it, so keep yourself safe." Okay.
that the governor, like, it wouldn't be about like additional resources to catching
I mean, I would assume that they're doing both. If they said, "Hey guys, we don't give a fuck about you. If you don't want to die, just don't go outside, idiot," then like, that would obviously be a problem. I mean, again, we don't even need to engage in this conversation because he's not accurately representing what Andrew Tate actually said, but
hate mobs or the lynchers or anything like that. It's just like, well, how do black people, like just not be in those towns? It's kind of like an affirmative position for the racists in a way, because they're not fixing the problem.
It is different because Andrew Tate is not in any way involved in the governance of anything at all, right? So this would be more like a successful white leader in that town in 1920 who likes black people saying, "Hey guys, listen, we live in a pretty fucked up world, so I think for you guys it makes more sense not to do this and this and this," right? That's not an unreasonable thing for that white person to say.
If that's all, so I mean, you're right in that he's not a public official. A governor back in the 1920s would have less people listening to him than Andrew Tate did today. But the point is the power and the message involved. If black kids are getting lynched and all you say is like, "Hey, black kids, you know how you could avoid that happening? Stay the fuck out of Whiteystown." If that's all you have to say, that's, as far as I'm concerned, a pro-lynching position. Because
also like by what this guy has said on the left, again, which is an inaccurate representation of what was actually being said by Andrew Tate. Like, he wouldn't be saying it in a malicious way. So like your assertion that it was malicious is wrong.
all you're really doing there is making sure people pay attention to the victims and focus on what they could have done to avoid. But rape has always happened. Like, as long as you're looking at the victim of rape for answers on how to prevent it, you will never find answers, because women get raped when they wear lots of clothing or not a lot of clothing. When they go after asshole guys or really trustworthy guys. When they go after like weaker or stronger men, women still get raped. So like focusing on their behavior, seems to me like largely a waste of time. Most rape victims aren't like out there in thongs, like spreading their pussy on a bar table.
I would say he seems a little bit of a red flag to me, but I'm just me, man. That's just me. I don't know. Sorry, guys. I'm not trying to insinuate he's done anything before, other than the sex pest stuff on Discord. But like, I don't know. I would be a little apprehensive.
well with a blood alcohol like percentage of
Double
10% or
talker,
whatever.
you know what I'm saying?
Most rapes happen
Be
from people
careful
already
those
known
people.
to the victim, and oftentimes it involves like
What's this?
inebriation or like a taking advantage of or like abuse leading up to it. And in these contexts, education on consent can be vital.
But there are things that women can do to mitigate the chances of getting raped. Yes or no?
There are always things that they can do, but
Okay.
exclusively focusing on that while promoting the attitudes in men that leads
where
to
the fuck
rape,
is this
kind of
question
like
going? The
it doesn't fix
catacombs,
anything.
huh?
No women are
Maybe.
watching Andrew Tate's show, or like maybe 5, right? He's not saying women need to take responsibility for what they did to contribute to the rape to give advice to women watching. There aren't women watching. He's saying it to the men, the misogynists in his audience who want to be vindicated from the feminist accusation that modern men aren't doing enough to lessen
Yeah,
rape,
maybe.
which
That's
is
not a bad
true.
argument.
They don't like that feminism is calling men rapists, even though they tend to be disproportionately at the very least. They don't like the idea that there's any kind of social responsibility at work there, so they want to misdirect, pull it away from that issue. Well,
What about
actually, maybe
Mr.
women should be
Direct?
more responsible. Oh, women have been getting raped in mass for all of human civilization, so maybe that's not like the right approach, you know?
You can say it doesn't fix anything, and that's your opinion, but that's not the same as it being destructive. Like, as we started unpacking that statement, it just becomes less and less bad. Now we're at a point where we're like, okay, maybe it doesn't fix anything. And you might have a point there. We can debate whether his message is fixing the problem or not helping the problem. But we can't say it's making the problem worse when he's literally just giving a very reasonable, common sense shit. I think the vast majority of people already know. This is kind of like,
That's
okay,
not
let's
what he
flip the
said,
example,
but
right?
okay.
There's certain parts of the city that white people should not go into at night, right?
True.
I don't think there's something wrong with a black person saying to a white person who's very cavalier, right?
Yeah, I remember there was a black friend of mine. It's like, yeah, if you come to Florida, you can't really hang out over here. He's like, you'll get shot. I was like, yeah, thanks, brother. It's true, I suppose. Yeah, for sure, I guess. But again, that's not what Andrew Tate said. So
And just thinks you can go anywhere. Like, hey man, like, listen, I'm concerned about your safety. I really don't recommend you go to Compton at 2 a.m. Right? I don't think that black person is contributing to the black and white violence. I think he's just giving some common sense advice that maybe that white person needs in that situation.
Like I said, I don't think that social safety advice is always wrong. I think that it's good to be prepared, but he's not talking to women to give them advice. He's talking to men to make them feel like they don't have to bear responsibility. And again, if he's so concerned with preventing rape, I mean, listen, you didn't even think it was possible to lessen the likelihood of rape by trying to convince your audience of millions of young men to behave differently.
Vaush, I wish I was that popular. The millions of young men. How
No,
popular?
no, with, I mean Andrew Tate's, but like
Okay.
any of us, any audience. Like, of course you have the power to do that.
Millions of
100%. You can
young
change
men.
their positions on things, their understanding of consent. And the purpose of focusing on the woman's role, the victim's role, is to detract from that. And he doesn't talk about consent, and he doesn't talk about like respecting women's agency or boundaries. In fact, he talks about the opposite. A lot of pickup artistry is about breaking down women's boundaries, ignoring their agency up into the line where you think they might like fucking call for the police or whatever. Like, be as aggressive as you can because maybe it'll put a lot of women off.
I don't know if I've ever heard a dating person talk about that. Wait, that seems a little. What dating advice are you getting? I mean, I've seen dating advice from what I've seen. Maybe I'm just wrong. Is mostly just like, yeah, approach a woman with confidence, buy her a drink. I don't know. I've never seen like anything that's like super aggressive. I mean,
But the ones who are
Or-
like ceding to it are going to give you pussy by the end of the night, you know? And all of this is like a bubbling cauldron of like pro-rape logic that people need to be like convinced out of. It's important.
Wash, I do have to comment on this. You're strawmanning the pickup artist position on this. It's not about pushing the line as far as possible. It's more about being polarizing, right? Being a more polarizing individual, and then some girls will like you, some girls will not like you, right? It's not about pushing the line as much as possible. I don't know any mainstream pickup channels that give that advice.
You don't
Yeah,
know
I
any
don't know.
mainstream pickup artists that have talked about pushing women's boundaries as a way of interpreting whether or not they're lower confidence or
What do you
like
mean?
insecure. Like
Who says
negging
that?
is a
like, give me an example.
I
What
don't
are
have
you
a list
talking
of
about?
them. Is this real? Do you really think this isn't like a tendency? Like if you went to like Return of Kings or like the
Don't have to give me like anything. Just give me like a specific thing that somebody says. Like, I want to like, what is your example of like some kind of like a predatory boundary push? Because just the term boundary push could be like super duper open to interpretation, like depending on what the boundary is. Like, you know what I mean? Like pushing a sexual boundary could be very predatory. I mean, I need to know the specifics of what you're kind of referring to. Is this an escort quest? I guess not. Yeah.
the red pill or anything? This isn't like a common part of pickup artistry.
Well, Return of Kings is no longer really up and running. I mean, that was based on what's his name?
Roosh
Rouge. Yeah, similar to your name, Vaush Rouge. He's in exile. He's like a religious like freak now. So
and a
Return
pickup
of,
artist.
he's like hasn't been in the pickup community for like 5-10 years. I've been in this community for 6
Oh,
years.
shit.
I haven't seen like anything like that. At least not in any of like the mainstream big channels. I'm sure there's some really random unknown channel that is probably saying that, sure, but not any of the big content creators. Like there's not like it's not like us pickup artists are
supposed to
sitting
do
around saying like, oh, let's see how much we can push the line. It's not happening in the community. If you want to convince me otherwise, you have to show me some kind of evidence for that.
I admit I did not
need, like,
prepare a series of statements on that particular subject, so I'll
Well,
have
you
to leave it
need
there.
to.
In my experience, the idea of like negging, for example, is like testing a woman's self-confidence and
Of what?
responsiveness to like
Negging?
probing. Like all of this is about pushing boundaries.
What does
To
that
an extent,
mean?
pushing boundaries can be a healthy part of like a new relationship, as long as it's done in like a respectful and mutually sort of beneficial sense. And that's like a really complicated social topic. But I don't think Andrew Tate was teaching that nuance. I think like I don't think he made any statements, frankly, that would have been like about
What am I
directing
supposed
his
to do here?
audience away from like raping women, which would be nice if they wouldn't rape women, I guess.
Let me just quickly address negging. So negging, I think you're correct about that. Negging isn't about pushing the woman's boundaries. It's about bringing down her self-esteem, right? So she'd be more likely to go for you. Now, negging is a very outdated concept.
Well, that sounds okay. That sounds kind of fucked up. So yeah, I think that maybe that would be considered like a boundary push.
pretty much every single pickup artist who's like at least like somewhat popular in the last 10 years has universally said that negging is pretty cringe. You know, it's pretty well out there that, you know, oh, negging, all that shit. So like, yeah, like vast majority of like the popular pickup channels, they don't talk about negging. They usually say it's cringe. It's something that's very outdated, but it was never about pushing boundaries. It was about bringing down her self-esteem. And it's usually pretty obvious and it's pretty cringe when people do it.
I'd say that's a little more than cringe, bro. That's like, I maybe would even say that's a little predatory. To fucking destroy somebody's, I don't know, maybe that's a little too much. Someone destroy someone's self-esteem so that they're more likely to fuck with you. That's really horrible. That's not cringe. That's fucking manipulative. What the fuck? Okay.
Agree.
Moving on to the, I just want to correct you on that real quick. Moving on to the preventing rape on men. So, okay, so this is, I think, another disagreement we have. I've heard, okay, here's what we probably agree on. There's a sentiment in the red pill community that, you know, rape is overreported. You and I agree on the fact that rape is actually underreported.
I just want to say that, like, I think that, just to be clear, I don't think I've ever heard Andrew Tate talk about breaking a woman's self-esteem down to get them to be attracted to you. So I'll give him that.
And this is going off a lot of anecdotal evidence. I have a lot of female friends who've been raped who never went to the police. So I've just seen so many evidence of that. I've had, you know, countless stories of girls I hooked up with, female friends who've been raped. Never once in those stories have I heard that, terrible. Well, it seemed like he didn't know what he was doing. I didn't tell him no. Every single one of the stories, the girl says no multiple times, and the guy ignores the no. So
that's actually not my experience with that at all. That's interesting. A lot of the stories are of like, a lot of the stories I've heard were similar to like, hey, I went out with this guy. I liked him a lot. He was really cool. We went back to like my place in some capacity. We started having consensual sex maybe, or like we were hanging out and cuddling and he wanted to have sex and he kept pushing and I said no over and over again. And eventually he just started like, you know, forcing himself on me, and like I was afraid. I liked the guy. I was afraid. I didn't like want to upset him, but like also I didn't know if he was going to hurt me if I didn't. That's a very commonly communicated thing to me. It's like, you know, the outright sexual assault. That's just my experience from people talking to me. You know, it's fucked. It's fucked. So, yeah, I mean, I'm not saying what he's saying is wrong at all. I'm sure, like, maybe the women he was dating, well, not maybe, the women he was dating, clearly, you know, they were more actively, but is like a situation where sometimes it's not as active. It's not as like, you know, where sometimes the person, usually the guy committing sexual assault, doesn't even realize what they're doing, or they think that that's just what you're supposed to do because I watch porn and I get my education from porn or something along those lines. So it's really fucked, man. It's really fucked.
So I've never really seen any kind of anecdotal evidence of this accidental rape.
Isn't well, a good example of accidental rape, and this isn't like you know, like accidental murder is murder, right? Or I guess it's manslaughter. But like oftentimes, like, aren't a lot of guys taught that like no means yes? It's such a common attitude that there are literally like songs talking about this, right? There's that Baby It's Cold Outside, or that Pushing Boundaries, or blurred lines, I think. The idea that like women, when they say no, are like shit testing you, and you like push through 3 no's to get the 1 yes. Again, I don't have like a list of like men's, like modern, I guess, men's pickup artist attitudes on this issue.
No, Vaush, this you. What the fuck is he like? Okay.
A lot of guys seem to think that like women have this barrier that you have to push through to have sex with them, which is the barrier is like them liking you. That's true. I mean, the barrier exists, you know, but if they want to fuck you, they want to fuck you. You know, you never want to like get a woman to fuck you because they're like acceding to you being annoying. But
sure,
a lot of guys seem to have that attitude. I grew up with guys like that. I went to high school with guys like that. I went to college with guys like that.
You are guys like that. I'm not trying to be a fucking asshole, but like you literally sex pested like 2 fucking girls. So I'm not. You know, let's not play like the fucking moral superiority game here, brother.
A lot of these guys just genuinely don't seem to understand that if you get 50 no's and then 1 yes, like you're decent chance you're raping her because she might like be coerced or pressured at that point. There might be factors you're not aware of that are sort of impeding her ability to consent.
Sure. There are elements of truth in what you're saying. And there's
I think that Vaush could have been a little bit more explicit about an example. That would have probably been better to communicate to this guy.
Elements of falseness. Women will test men. So an example of this, you're going home with a girl and she's like, you know, I'm not having sex with you, right? Typically in those situations, you wind up having sex as soon as you walk in the door. What is the woman doing, right? The woman is testing. She wants to see, are you going to get really reactive? Are you going to be like, oh, are you going to be like pushy? Are you going to get weird about it? You're just going to be like, oh yeah, no worries. We're not having sex, right? Like typically every time I've been in that situation, literally the girl tries to fuck me as soon as we get in the door, right? So women do test men.
But that isn't, so if you're like at the bar or something and she says that, there are a bunch of answers I think that are fine. You can say like, oh, I guess we'll see. Or like, oh, if you know, you're lost. Or like, I have a gigantic dick. You would have died anyway. You know, whatever you want to go for. but if she's like, I don't want to have sex with you tonight, you look at her and you're like, well, we're going to have sex anyway. She's not going to like that. Like that. No, that's not the right answer, right? So yeah. So if you're back at her place and she's like, yeah, I don't feel comfortable having sex, and you're like, are you sure? You sure you don't want to? Like that's not playful.
Yeah, back and forth. Right. Well, that's why you have to be able to.
I wouldn't even taking her back to my place. If she's not down to DTF, she's like, I'm not down to fuck. I'd be like, all right, don't be here then. I don't date anymore.
Discern when a girl's giving you a boundary or whether she's like playfully testing you.
I agree, but I think that test is part of banter, and it's something that, like, as a guy, I engage in as well. So I think that's just part of the back and forth. But there's a difference between that and actively pushing a boundary, like when they
Sure,
don't
yeah,
want something
yeah.
and you try to. But a lot of guys don't seem to get this. And I've had partners that I've hooked up with, or like friends, or who have been with guys like this, who just have like this very like they get angry if a woman says no because it feels like they feel like they're kind of entitled to sex because they had dinner together, or like maybe she led him on because like she felt his dick up in the car or some shit like that. But then later she's like, oh, I don't feel comfortable, whatever, and then they get angry, and that anger kind of makes them think they're getting fucked with, and that makes them like more
Sure.
likely to rape her.
Yeah, yeah. But there are guys who get butthurt when they get rejected. 100% agree. Like going back to what we were discussing earlier of this like accidental rape. Like a woman isn't gonna just like if she's not interested, she's not just gonna be like, well, I'm just gonna lay here and hope he gets it. Like women, every single story of rape I've heard, it's always been I told him no multiple times. He wouldn't take no for an answer. Right? It's not like the guy just accidentally tripped and wound up like falling with his dick on her pussy. It was always like no, no, no.
I really hope that Vaush just would like push back against this a little bit to try to help this guy understand what he's talking about, because like I wouldn't have really been convinced by what Vaush had said. It wasn't like very well communicated. I think I did a decent job at communicating it. But okay, let's see what he says.
Oh no, and the guy ignored that. It wasn't like the guy just didn't know any better.
So let's say we're talking pure malice then, not a disregard for boundary, but an act.
Just kind of gloss over that. Okay, I feel like you probably should have went a little more in on that, but okay.
Willingness to rape. Okay, people who are racist are more likely to commit racist hate crimes, right? I mean, that's kind of straightforward.
Sure.
Isn't it possible that people who are misogynistic and who are taught stuff like women are dogs, they don't know what's best for them, men need to lead them around, these people might have less concern for women's agency when it comes to stuff like sexual autonomy?
Sure, yeah, you can make
Probably,
that correlation.
Yeah, so I think like that would be another one. It's like two levels, right? You need to teach consent so people know what they're doing, and then you need to teach like I guess I call it like feminist advocacy, or like at least not being a misogynist, so that you have enough of a respect for women that you don't have a malicious desire to rape them.
I just don't think as a content creator, like if you have someone who hates women and is determined to like get sex at all costs, I don't think there's anything you can say or do to talk him out of it.
Okay, you can talk people into it, can't you?
I don't think you could not talk me into raping anybody. I don't think you can talk someone into raping a girl.
Not you, but think about it. Like a lot of these modern alt-right
This fell
terrorists who
into
like shoot up
water.
a store and kill black people or whatever, they like online content creators who post similar messaging. People's behavior is affected by their biases, and they get biases from media. And we are the media. Not all of it, but a good part of it. You know, independent
fuck
content
is
creators make up a
happening?
huge portion of where people get their news these days. So if a person's watching like 8 hours a day of the Tate stir, and he's getting like, yeah, women don't know what's best for them,
Why am I
like false rape
falling
accusations are out of
into the
control, like women like it anyway, like women like it when men will sup around, haha, it's just a joke, but not really. Like they get that. And this guy is like young and insecure and already doesn't like have a good relationship with women. You're cultivating that behavior. It's not a one-to-one thing, but with enough people in your audience, eventually you're going to like produce that,
I think that is a big stretch. That the stuff that Tate is saying is leading to more rape across the world. But going back to the earlier point is again we're talking about accidental rape. I just don't see like that happening. Like would you not agree that like pretty much every time rape happens, the woman says no, and usually she says no multiple times.
Oftentimes I've noticed that accidental rape, insofar as it is accidental, is through unintentional consent. You know the It's Always Sunny bit, the like because of the implication thing? Like yeah, like that. A lot of guys don't get that. Like if you go to get drinks with a chick and you're both like mildly tipsy, and then you're like, oh, let's hang out at my place for a bit. You bring her back to your apartment, you have the car, and then like you're like, oh yeah, so you want to fuck? And she's like, oh, I don't know. And you're like, I think we should fuck. That'd be fun. And you're bigger than her and you're stronger than her, and she's mildly tipsy and not like that snap on the judgment anyway. She could say yes right there. And I still think that like even if that doesn't
maybe, I mean, yeah, that could be a situation where you're pressuring. I don't think that both of you being drunk fundamentally and being like not for nothing, but like both of you getting drunk and then being at somebody's house, that doesn't instantly mean that like it's a sexual assault scenario. It could be if she doesn't want it and she says no, or if she doesn't want it. But like, I mean, usually if you went to a bar and you got a little tipsy and went back to somebody's house, there's a bit of an implication there that you want to sleep with them. That's a very complex scenario. You'd have to give like a lot more specifics in that scenario than the way that that he's laying the situation out.
Meet the legal definition of the rape, at the very least, it's a bad thing to happen, And
The
stuff like this, it's like blurred lines.
The only thing that I find troubling about that is she's sort of tipsy, or the rest of that, I don't know. I think that's just like how most situations go. You wind up at someone's house.
Well, if they're both sort of tipsy, I think it kind of negates, like, if she's really drunk and he's not drunk at all, then I think that's really concerning. Or if he's just really drunk and she's not drunk at all, that's really concerning. But
sure, technically you're bigger than her, and there's the implication that something could go wrong. But like you can't. What are you supposed to do? Like as a guy about that, you're bigger than the girl. I mean,
be careful. Well, this is so clear a point that It's Always Sunny made a joke about it. Like that was the point. The point was that Dennis was like a manipulative like rapist, so he would.
Right,
so there you go. Like it's enough of a thing that it was the premise for a comedy bit there.
Yeah, I mean, it was a pretty funny joke. I don't know if it's like It's Always Sunny. Like they make fun of like literally everything, like including race shit.
The joke was that it was creepy. Like the premise of the
right.
It
is creepy for sure. It is very creepy.
Advantage.
Yeah, sure. It is very creepy if you get a bunch of girls on a boat and then you don't take no for an answer. And it's like they can't say no. They have to fuck you. That is creepy. Sure, I agree with you on that. I think most guys aren't getting girls out on a boat with a dirty mattress like in the boat, like with Mac on the side. Like I think that's not really happening to most dudes. I don't know.
Your apartment though, right?
But then where are you supposed to go with a girl?
Well, yeah. I'm not saying you can't bring her back to your apartment. I'm just saying that it's a delicate situation where she might feel that she could meet with violence if she doesn't like suck your dick or whatever.
Sure, I agree. This
can happen for sure. But generally speaking, if you're at like a club with a girl or a bar with a girl and you say, "Can you want to come back to my place?" the implication there is that she wants to sleep with you, because then why the fuck else would you go back to his place? You know what I mean? I'm not saying she has to consent to anything. I'm just saying that like that's one of those scenarios where, like, okay, I'm going here for, you know, if you're engaging in hookup culture, doesn't mean she has to say yes, but like that would be would be communicated to him is like, hey, she wants to sleep with me. Now if she's like, no, I actually don't want to do this, I want to leave, and he's like, no, we're fucking, like obviously that's rape in some capacity. So yeah.
That happens.
I agree it's a delicate situation. I don't know, just every story I've ever heard of rape wasn't really like the girl saying, yeah, you know, I went back to his place and I never said no, but like he could, you know, I just felt like a little intimidated. Like every story I've ever heard was like, hey, I told him no multiple times. This guy wouldn't take no for an answer. That's every single story of rape I've ever heard. And there's been dozens and dozens.
Well, what if she did tell him no multiple times, but after the 4th or 5th time that he insisted that they should, she said yes? But
like, yeah, that would be one of those things. So this is like a scenario where you might be out with somebody and you might be like hanging out and you might say no. And then he's like, okay. And then he stops for a little bit and then like goes for it again. He's, you know, maybe you guys are dating for a while. And then you say no again. You're like, okay, I'm not really in the mood. And then he's like, okay. And then like we teach men to be persistent in society a lot, especially when they get education through porn. And then that happens a few times. And then she's like, okay, I'm gonna let this guy sleep with. Well, yeah, I guess I'm gonna have to like give in because I might get hurt in some capacity. Or they're already in the middle of the sexual act. And like he goes beyond like a barrier of hers, and like maybe like for instance, this can happen a lot, especially people who like very aggressive sex. He might start like having like, this is something that Dave Portnoy would kind of do. He would sleep with these younger girls. They were legal, of course, but like he liked aggressive sex, so he would start engaging in aggressive sex, and then like they were too afraid to like kind of stop it. That's what I was communicated to me, and that gets into a conversation where maybe you wouldn't consider sexual assault, but it's definitely inappropriate, and it sets this woman up for a situation where she doesn't feel like she can accurately say no to a situation like that. So that's kind of where we're going here.
He's like getting the vibe that this dude is going to break her nose if she like keeps saying no, you know?
Well, yeah, if a girl says no 4 or 5 times, that should probably be the end of it. Like, yeah, I would agree. That's very messed up if you're like pushing past like the first no.
But she said yes eventually, didn't she?
She might have in this hypothetical, sure. I think at that point, okay, is it rape or is it just being very pushy? I don't know. Where do you draw that line?
Well,
it's probably messed up either way.
I don't think it meets the definition of rape legally, that specific scenario.
Well, right there, him saying that, I don't know if that's rape or if it's just pushing a line. Like right there, you can kind of point, like hone in on it and be like, hey, that's inappropriate. What you're saying is actually like very wrong. You know what I mean? Like the fact that you're not interpreting that as sexual assault, like that would be the problem, I would say. Once like if she says no, then you know, then she says no. You know what I mean? That's where Vaush should push there, because then he could make the arguments like, hey, see, like even you have a little bit of a regressive idea when it comes to sex. If you don't explicitly think that that's wrong, or explicitly think that that's would be sexual assault,
they say it's a violation of her consent and morally wrong and should be avoided.
Right, but I don't think it's unreasonable at the same token to tell girls, hey, listen, like if you want to minimize your odds of something like that happening, maybe don't go home with a guy, or at least not right away. Maybe feel out his vibe first. Like I think that's like pretty good advice for women.
But if you had a female friend who got raped at a guy's apartment and she told you about this, and your response was like, okay, maybe don't go to guys' apartments then. Like, do you think
that would just be very insensitive on my part? Of course, I wouldn't say that to a rape victim. That would be very insensitive. But maybe later down the line, if she came to me after she processed the trauma, she's like, Alex, I'm really worried about this happening again. What do you recommend? I probably would say, well, you know,
no woman came to Andrew Tate saying, could you give me some advice on not getting sexually assaulted? Nobody asked for that advice. So by your logic, again, like this wouldn't even be like analogous to what's happening here.
You should have be applicable, rather. That just more has to do with social tact and being sensitive.
What if she'd already known the guy for a while and she went back to his apartment after like meeting up 4 or 5 times?
Well, sometimes luck, can fuck you over. Sometimes like you just get unlucky. Sometimes you do everything right and you still get fucked.
So we should focus on another aspect of the 2-person rape equation, right? The person actually doing the crime then.
I think we should focus on both. I think we should help women mitigate risk. And I don't know if it's possible to help men who are, I think you have to be somewhat of a sociopath to rape a girl because you have to have a lack of empathy for her feelings. Right? I think the vast majority of like regular guys would not do that because they have enough empathy and sympathy for the girl. But I think, I personally don't think it's possible to get that kind of like a low-key sociopath to change his behavior.
This is it's really dangerous to say this. Rape isn't just like a mental illness, or like the ability to rape isn't just like a brain problem. It's caused by social forces. People are more or less likely to be rapists based on
can be caused by social forces, for sure.
Predictable social factors that we have control over through the messaging we deliver people. When you say it's like, oh, you have to be a sociopath, what you're doing is saying like there's nothing we can do about it, which is a pro-rape sentiment. If you say if there's a social problem and you're saying it is caused by an inimicable and unavoidable flaw in human design, you are preventing anything from being done about it on that end of things. You're leaving that side of the table unaddressed. The problem is, unfortunately, that like people don't want to hear it, but feminism and the Me Too movement are the things that have made rape less common. You can take a look at like projected like proportion rape statistics throughout time, and the modern second wave feminist movement has been like the big defeater in terms of like the likelihood of a woman experiencing sexual violence in her lifetime. And that's because people's political opinions changed. Guys got exposed to different ideas. A lot of guys who used to believe that women were just naturally inferior, like God made them, like Eve was from Adam's rib, like they grew up listening to other ideas about like women's liberation, and it makes them less likely to rape. Not 0% likelihood, but it does help.
I'm just not convinced that content creators or media have the power to reduce rape. You would have to present some kind of evidence for that to me. I'm open to changing my opinion. I just haven't seen any evidence that we have that kind of power. I wish we had that kind of power. I don't know if we do about that. I don't know. I'd have to see some evidence of that claim.
We talk to millions of people. I mean, I talk to millions of people, and Tate's like a million times my size. Like it's media, people's opinions. If you can
what's the
Tate's pretty
evidence
jacked.
that even though you talk to millions of people, you can
Pretty
change
jacked.
the people who want to rape a girl from raping? Like, I don't know. Like, I just personally don't think we have that kind of power, even if we have a billion subscribers.
we know that people's like likelihood of raping is affected by political influences, and we know that content creators can affect the political.
They're just having like a difference in understanding of like sexual assault, and Vaush hasn't really done a great job communicating like the idea of like we'll say like an unintentional sexual assault. Like he hasn't done a great job of communicating that to this guy on the left, so he's not going to really be able to like hammer this point home. It's just going to then be them like kind of bickering back and forth about sexual assault, and so like this is going to be unproductive.
biases of the people who are listening.
But
So
is that
transitively,
but is that correlation or causation?
well, we know that there are causative forces in both cases. We know that like we can determine like through longitudinal studies on populations, like the introduction of different ideas, feminist ideas definitely like tend to reduce the likelihood of rape in a society. And we know that feminist ideas are political ideas, and political ideas can be disseminated through media, including what we do.
Do you think there's any amount of media power, or I don't know who your favorite content creators are, but let's just assume all of them adopt a pro-rape position. They're like, rape is great. Do you think there's any amount of media pressure that could get you to rape someone?
Well, me personally, of course, I don't believe that. I don't think any person believes that about themselves. And like, ask anybody,
But
what
realistically-
advertisement could get you to buy this product? And a lot of people are going to say like, nothing. I'm immune to advertising. But advertisers know you're not. Advertisers know that you're so not immune to advertising that they'll spend billions advertising to you. Nobody's going to admit like, yeah, I would change my mind like on this position I have. Like if I would like listen to a YouTube video while strapped to a chair. But we do know that the predominance of some types of media change people's opinions. We see this with news broadcasts, TV shows. Like people are affected by this stuff.
But just try to. I understand the point you're making. Sometimes it's implicit. Sometimes it's hard to be conscious of what affects you. But just try to take like a second and like really think, like objectively. Do you really think that there's any amount of media pressure has the power to get you to rape? If I'm being honest, I'm thinking about myself. I don't think there's anything. I don't care if every single one of my content creators adopts a pro-rape position.
Well, yeah, well, you're an adult, right? So like the argument is that like kids would be taking like a poor message from what's being said, right? So the argument isn't that like Andrew Tate's actively advocating for this. The argument here from Vaush is that like because Andrew Tate has a regressive perspective on women, that means that like by that extension they're going to have less of an emphasis or caring on what that woman says or thinks when it comes to any like situation, which could potentially lead to some guy sexually assaulting a girl because they're not being considerate enough of her feelings. That's the fundamental argument he's making. It's not a bad argument. It's possible, So that's the argument that he's making though.
I don't think that could cause me to butch my issue on rape because I just have enough empathy to know that would be really horrible if I was in that girl's shoes.
Empathy's learned though, and what you think is hurting the girl is also learned. Like I'm not biologically different from.
Yeah, and if you think that women are like this guy compared it to, like basically like dogs, that need to like be led around by like their fucking leash and controlled specifically, then like by that logic, like yeah, it actually would make sense that there would be a situation where a guy would sexually assault a girl without realizing it because he's just being taught by Andrew Tate that he should take like the leading role over a woman, and that like what she says doesn't necessarily matter. If she made it, so like yeah.
grows up in Saudi Arabia, but that guy probably has a way worse attitude when it comes to like women being raped. The difference between me and that Saudi guy is that he grew up being exposed to different influences, one of which was media, right? It's not like a biological thing. If there are differences in the propensity for rape in different populations, that can be explained by their influences.
Well, no, I do think there's some biological elements. Of course, I think they've been talking about like the murder gene or whatever, and they've kind of identified several flips that happen in your head that can make you more likely to murder, right? So you would think that there's things that biologically make you more likely to, the big three: the narcissism, Machiavellianism, and psychopathy, or psychopathy, right? Those
I
are
don't
the
think
big
there's
three.
any evidence to suggest that Saudis have more of a
No,
biological
I'm
disposition.
Not what he's saying. He's just talking just generally that some people might have a gene. He's not saying anything about people from other countries.
I'm not talking about Saudis. I'm just talking about in general. Like, forget the Saudi thing. I'm just talking about like they've identified that there's certain biological triggers that can make you way more likely to murder. Well, I think a lot of that applies to rape. I think there's certain biological things that can make you way more likely to rape. Like,
I'm not saying that biology isn't a factor. I'm saying the fact that there are average differences between populations can be explained by social forces. So the average Saudi and average American probably don't have different genes when it comes to acceptance of rape, but their average opinions would differ significantly, and that's because they're exposed to different types of media, different influences growing up. All people are is nature and nurture. And nature-wise, humans all over the world are basically the same, but humans behave very differently depending on where we grow up, which must be explained by nurture. And I think that as long as you latch onto that, you recognize that people are really, really susceptible, even if they don't think they are.
But what's the evidence that Saudis are more tolerable of rape? I mean, I'm not saying you're wrong. I just want to see proof of that.
I would just say the attitude that they have towards the laws.
The fact that they don't have laws preventing marital rape. That's all I have to really say. Like, yeah, it's like people in countries that don't have robust laws that protect women. The fact that like, what evidence of that? Okay.
Against rape.
Right.
The fact that like attitudes towards marital rape, for example. Why was marital rape legal for like basically all of American history and then only recently became illegal? Like why did we become more tolerant? Did our genes change? No, of course not. Our political opinions changed on whether being married to someone made it acceptable. What about attitudes towards the abuse of children? Historically, marrying underage brides by our standard was like the norm, not the exception. But now in America, if you marry a 14-year-old girl, people dislike that. Did our genes change? No, like the attitudes we have changed because of the environmental factors that we were exposed to.
Yeah, Yeah, I'm just trying to look at
What's
like
interesting is that there's actually at the times where there's like increased caring about women is also associated with people wearing jeans more in society. So you could literally argue that jeans are what made us less sexist. Isn't that incredible, guys? The denim jean really changed our perspective on equality, huh?
like countries with the most rape. Actually, I'm curious to get to the bottom of this. So South Africa is number 1. We got Botswana number 2. So we got a lot of African countries. Sweden is number 6. So Sweden is actually above Saudi Arabia. That's interesting because Sweden is very liberal.
It's going to vary depending on the way in which they report rape statistics.
Right.
Sweden, for example, will
Yeah,
report every
true.
individual rape separately, whereas here in America, it'll be collectively reported as one. So if a dad chained a daughter in the basement and raped her 70 times over like 2 weeks,
Well, yeah, it's hard to look at the like, because in another country they might have a very different standard for rape, so you're not going to really be able to like listen to that country like, yeah, our standard of rape is this, but if they don't have the standard of rape, like for instance, like marital rape is included or other things, and like you're not going to really be able to listen to that. Plus, in like a lot of non-Western countries, they don't report things nearly the same with the same infrastructure that they do in like more Westernized countries. So you kind of have to be careful about looking at the statistics in that capacity.
that would be 70 rape cases in Sweden, and in America, that'd be 1.
Sure, I understand there's the chart. I mean, according to this one I'm looking at right now, I haven't researched this too closely, but United States is number 14, way above Saudi Arabia.
But
So
you
I have to
understand
see,
what I
I
mean
have
about
to see
the
some
marital rape,
evidence.
right? Like the marital rape, like our attitudes on whether it's okay to have a child.
There's that, and I don't know what like to, but then like what is it? Is it proportionality or is it just raw numbers? I mean, other
Bride, or it's okay to like rape your wife. Like those have changed, not because of changes in genetics, but because changes in what we consider acceptable. For most of human society,
so
child
there's like a tenth of the population of Saudi Arabia is like compared to America. So it's like
brides were not that uncommon, but now we recognize that that's statutory rape. So
Well, I think Saudi follows Islamic law, and I think there's some really bizarre things about Islam. Not to open up that whole can of worms, but I think that's like the big issue there. I think it's more has to do with religion.
but that's cultural. Religion is disseminated through cultural signifiers, right? The media you consume, the imams you listen to, right?
Sure. I mean, I think that though an imam has a lot more power than media does, like in the West. Like I think those people think that what imam says is the word of law. So you can make an argument how if an imam says, "Hey,"
how I see the problem here is that like Vaush is using media as like general environmental argument, and this guy's just kind of taking media as like, I guess, I don't know, commercials or something.
that's rape is okay, that certain of those fanatics will go out and rape when they normally would. I just don't think we have nearly that much power in people's minds.
Well, I would be happy to continue talking about it with you, but unfortunately, I have another conversation.
Yeah, no worries, man. Yeah,
This
no, it
flew
was,
by.
I know, dude. No, yeah,
yeah.
I enjoy our chats. Even though
it's a lot
we
of fun.
disagree on some shit, I enjoy conversations for sure, man. So yeah, thanks for coming on, buddy. Appreciate
I
it.
enjoyed it a lot. Thank you very much for reaching out. I'd be happy to talk with you in the future.
Yeah, for sure. We'll set up again, man.
For
Have a wonderful day.
Very
All right, take care,
popular.
dude. Bye-bye.
Take care.
All right, cool. Cool conversation, I guess. I watched a lot more of that than I thought we were going to watch. Okay, that wasn't too bad. Everyone, thank you so much for watching, and a special shout out to all my Patreon patrons, my YouTube members, and my Twitch subs. If you'd like to learn how you can contribute even more than you already are by simply watching the video, you can check the links down below, which will unlock a special feature depending on the platform that you subscribe to, such as Patreon here, that will get your name right here on this wall. Thank you so much, guys, again for watching, and have a good one.